Welcome to the City of Miami Beach Commission Chamber. Welcome to the City of Miami Beach Commission Chambers. We're glad to have you with us today. If you require ADA assistance or accommodations, please notify the city clerk or any staff member, and we will be happy to assist you. As a courtesy to everyone present, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices at this time. Lobbyist disclosure reminder. If you are a lobbyist appearing before the City Commission or any city board, you must have registered with the city clerk prior to participating. If you have not yet registered, please do so immediately. Presentation reminder. If you submitted a presentation within the 24 hours prior to the start of today's meeting, please check the computer located at the podium to ensure your file is properly loaded. When the floor opens for public comment, please step up to the podium, speak clearly into the microphone, and begin by stating your name and address for the record. How to participate in public meetings via Zoom. Once you have joined the Zoom meeting, go to the bottom panel and click on the raise hand icon to notify the meeting host that you would like to speak. As soon as the host grants you permission to speak, a dialog box will pop up on your screen with two options. Select the unmute button to begin speaking. After you finish speaking, mute your microphone and click on the lower hand icon. If you are joining Zoom via phone, tap the keypad icon and press star 9 to notify the meeting host that you have raised your hand to speak. A voice operator will prompt you to unmute your microphone by pressing star 6. Once unmuted, you may begin speaking. After you finish sharing your comments, be sure to press star 9 to lower your hand and star 6 to mute yourself. We kindly ask everyone to conduct themselves in a respectful and professional manner throughout today's meeting. Thank you for your cooperation, and thank you for participating in your local government here in the City of Miami Beach.
Please take your seats. The meeting is about to begin. Remember to speak into the microphone, as this meeting is being recorded for public record. Please stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the December 16th meeting of the Historic Preservation Board of the City of Miami Beach. Happy holidays, everyone. And with that, I'm going to ask Michael Belush to start the meeting.
So first, we do have presently 5 members present. Mr. Hollingsworth will not be here today. We do expect Mr. Mayor to be here shortly. Without turning it over to Nick, who can let members of the public know how they may participate in today's proceedings.
Thank you, Michael, and good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Today's meeting of the Historic Preservation Board will be conducted in a hybrid format, with the board physically present in the commission chambers at Miami Beach City Hall, and applicant staff and members of the public appearing either in person or virtually via Zoom. To participate virtually in today's meeting, the public may dial 1-888-475-4499 and enter the webinar ID, which is 817-4834-7488, or log into the Zoom app and enter the webinar ID, which again is 817-4834-7488. Anyone wishing to speak on an item must click the raise hand icon if you're using the Zoom app, or dial *9 if you're participating by phone. If you're appearing on behalf of a business, a corporation, or another person, you need to register as a lobbyist with the City Clerk's office. If you haven't registered yet, you should register before you speak to the board. You don't have to register as a lobbyist if you're speaking only on behalf of yourself and not any other party, or if you're testifying as an expert witness providing only scientific, technical, or other specialized information or testimony in this public meeting, or if you're appearing as a representative of a neighborhood association without any compensation or reimbursement for your appearance, to express support of or opposition to any item. Expert witnesses and representatives of neighborhood associations shall, prior to appearing, disclose in writing to City Clerk their name, address, and the principal on whose behalf they're communicating. If you're an architect, attorney, or employee representing an applicant or an objector, you must register as a lobbyist. These rules apply whether you're appearing in favor of or against an item, or encouraging or arguing against its passage, defeat, modification, or continuance. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to swear in any members of staff and any members of the public who will be testifying today. Please rise and raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, that will go to the approval of the minutes from the November 18th meeting. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I'll begin with the regular agenda items. The first item we have on the agenda is for applications that were previously approved, and this is HPB file number 250677, formerly known as HPB file number 7245 for 1545 Collins Avenue. This is an application requesting modification to the order that was previously approved back in 2011. Back in 2011, the board approved a certificate of appropriateness for modification to the entire site. That set of plans included numerous operational conditions for the property. At the time, there was a related planning board file. The planning board file referenced the operational conditions back in this file. Since that time, the application, some of you may be aware, went to the board for further modification to the site. They were approved by the board back in 2024, October 8th of last year. So what this proposal is to eliminate the operational conditions that were sort of stuck on the 2011 order. That order really is no longer applicable since the board reviewed modifications back in last year. So all this application is to remove the operational conditions that have now been incorporated into the planning board order, which was reviewed and approved by the planning board, actually, I think it was last week. So it just cleans up this order so that those former operational conditions are no longer applied to the property, because we have updated conditions as part of the planning board order, and sort of just eliminates confusion by having to go back and look at that prior order to make sure there's no conditions that apply to the property. That'll turn it over to the applicant for their presentation.
Good morning, board members.
Just one second,
Sure.
please. Is there any question? Are there any questions for the staff? I had a question for you, and you do too. No, please, you first.
So just to clarify, because one of the letters of opposition we received was that the changing the timing of operation would open a precedent in the neighborhood. So I'm just trying to understand, we are not changing anything, you are just removing from an obsolete HPB approval so that the planning approval takes over and it has already been
Exactly,
approved.
so the planning board approval takes over. Any modifications then would go to the planning board, because otherwise they'd have to go back, they'd have to come to both boards, right? Both the HPB to modify the conditions as well as the planning board. And really, since that time back in 2011, the boards have basically been more in terms of looking at their purview of the application. So the Historic Preservation Board is looking at design, especially when you have an application that's also going to planning board. The planning board is looking at, operational conditions regarding, trash and loading, noise, hours of operation, especially for an application that includes a neighborhood impact establishment. If there was no application that was associated for an NIE, and there was no associated application that would go to the planning board, then it may be appropriate for this board to place, certain conditions regarding operations. But in this case, there is a companion certificate of, conditional use permit for the property. So it doesn't make sense to have conflicting conditions
Okay.
in the Historic Preservation Board report order versus the planning board
Okay,
order.
thank you.
And Mike, and so just, so any perception that this might be an applicant kind of choosing a board to,
Exactly.
for the best outcome?
Just like you wouldn't want to have the planning board make decisions on a certificate of appropriateness.
Yeah.
I think in this case, it's more appropriate for the planning board to weigh in on conditions regarding operations.
Thank you. All right, I'm sorry about that. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Nick Noto with the law firm of Bills and Sundberg, here on behalf of the
I'm
applicant.
sorry, I have to, you had a question? You were doing much better without me last meeting. I'm so sorry
No,
about
you're
that.
fine.
So I just wanted to know, the proposed order that we have here, and then we have this like supplement that goes with it.
So Nick Clertis is going to provide a comment. This is just to clarify that the order that's from 2011 is more for historical record now. It's not to be looked at in terms of conditions that are ongoing for the property. And we're going to have some revised clarification of what was passed out.
Okay. I just wanted to know if the proposed order references the planning board order at all and incorporates that.
No, because it's basically, this is going to be for historical record, it no longer would apply for somebody to have to look at in terms of the conditions. So the new order applies.
And the idea being that the HPB order should really be limited to the approval of the design of the project, and the planning board order will stand on its own, and the operational conditions are all as approved by the planning board last week.
Right, I was
There's-
just
there's no-
asking for
there's no
some sort of reference between the orders saying, incorporating by reference the operational conditions in the planning board order.
No, because we basically want to close out this order. So this is like for historical record, there's no need for anybody to look at this order to then have a reference of a future order in the file. So I think that the Historic Preservation Order back in 2024 does have we'll check. I think that should have a link to the planning board case file. If not, we'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Elizabeth?
So I'm sorry, so this application has no design changes at all because we
That's
have a
correct.
completely
This-
package
this-
beyond
this is-
design, so.
This is, these design modifications, or the design was all approved back in 2011. That's no longer applicable since we have a new order from this board from October of last year. That's the order that applies and controls for this property. Without having, so just in quick summary, if the board did not modify these conditions today, then those operational conditions still apply to the property. So for example, when you get approval from the board to do a new project, a new building, once the building is constructed, you've closed out basically the Historic Preservation Board order, the project is complete, they have their TCO, it's operational, but that order has operational conditions. Those run for the life of the property unless they're modified. This basically removes all those operational conditions and applies them, and those are now applied as part of the planning board review rather than the Historic Preservation Board review. So there's no need to then look at this order. Just like if we have, over the course of a building's lifespan, you may see numerous orders on a property. And for us to have to go through and permitting to look at every prior order to see what applies, it can be very cumbersome. This just clarifies that this order is no longer applicable towards any sort of new review of the design of the property.
So then all these design changes were just for reference? They was not, have nothing to do with the process?
Yeah, all the other design information as part of this order is just for historical record based upon the plans
Okay.
approved back in 2011. Because we have a new application that was approved by this board back in October, that's the new order that applies.
Okay.
And so this board will not see moving forward any of those kind of conditions come before it?
No, so if there's no associated planning board approval,
Okay,
then you may see operational conditions as
We
part of the
will.
order.
okay.
But if there is an associated planning board order, just I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
There's one of the conditions in here that says that if there's a violation regarding noise, they have to come back to this board for like a progress report.
Right.
That's now in the planning board order. So if there's a violation regarding noise, it goes to the planning board as part of the progress report versus this board.
Okay, and what would kick in that the planning board having the noise be part of its ordinance versus HPB having noise?
there's- so-
Like in a new application, for example?
So if there's a conditional use permit,
Uh-huh,
then basically the operational conditions are subject to the purview of the planning board. We wouldn't have those conditions in the HPB order. If there was no planning board order, then it would be appropriate. Or, for example, this board also reviews, say, variances for outdoor bar counters. So in that case, we may have operational conditions regarding that variance that would be subject to the purview of the HPB.
So why didn't we deal with this last year?
I'll ask,
I can answer that question if I may.
okay, wait, just one second. Anybody else have any other questions? Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. The planning board last week, what did they approve, in a nutshell, regarding noise? That would be my concern.
I'll-
Okay, if we're really, you'd rather defer to them? Okay, please, now we're ready. I think we're
Thank
good
you.
and ready for your presentation.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Nick Noto from the law firm of Bills and Sundberg. Our office is located at 1450 Brickell Avenue, here on behalf of the applicant. Just to answer your question, Mr. Chair, I have on my presentation, if they could pull it up, this is the condition that you were just discussing as approved in the modified CUP that was approved by the planning board last week. This is essentially, I think, just a matter of housekeeping. To answer Board Member Lovell's question, what happened was we came to you last year for a massive renovation of the Royal Palm Hotel. I can kind of flip through some of these to refresh your memory of the modifications. We did a lot of improvements in the lobby, the outdoor terrace space, the 3-meal restaurant, and this second floor roof deck. You guys may remember this project. It was approved in October of 2024. Now that we have begun the permitting process, we had to go back and modify our conditional use permit with the planning board because occupancies have changed. We've asked for we had asked for an additional right because of that. If you remember, the lobby bar was modified to be kind of inside outside. So that required us to go back to the planning board to modify our CUP. It wasn't until we were in that process that we even recognized that there was this old 2011 HPB order that had operational conditions in it. Because typically, as Mr. Belush has explained, the planning board would regulate conditional use permits and operational conditions relating to the operation of a neighborhood impact establishment. So it wasn't until we were going through that CUP process that we even knew that this 2011 order had these operational conditions in it. And they were transferred to the conditional use permit in 2011. They were kept in there in 2019. They're still in there as I showed, and I have a couple examples of, this was one of the provisions that we're asking to be stricken for clarification purposes. And what was approved last week essentially just strengthens it, adds more clarifying language, and strengthens these conditions. A lot of that is still in there. The planning board order is 13 pages of conditions that was approved last week. There's a lot in there. We're just trying to make sure that when, in the future, if there was a redesign of this hotel again, we would come to you for the design approval and the certificate of appropriateness. If we had to modify our operational conditions or our conditional use permit, that would go to the planning board, so we're not caught in this kind of catch-22 where now we're appearing before you for a second time because these operational conditions are in here, although we already went to the planning board to kind of go through an extended discussion about the operations and all of these 13 pages worth of conditions that are now in the modified CUP. Does that make sense?
Is that the end of your presentation?
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
I have one other thing I'd like to bring up, and I think I'll work with
Yeah, can you
Nick
just-
Claire just on this language, just to clarify, because, one thing we're always worried about when we get to permitting is we want to make sure that the project that you approved in 2024 is what everyone's looking at for purposes of permitting and that renovation. So this is truly just clarifying that just because we're here modifying this 2011 order as a matter of cleanup, so it doesn't conflict with the CUP, that it's the 2024 project you approve is what we're building and not this old 2011 order.
Okay, so is that
That's
the end of your
yes, I'm
presentation?
happy to answer questions, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Mitch, you had a question?
Yeah,
You were gonna ask.
I'd like to understand the proposed order versus what was approved by this board in 2011 regarding noise. What has changed? If it's the same, I don't see that there would be any problem.
If I may approach and hand you guys a copy of I'm gonna hand out a copy of the proposed draft order from last week's hearing. It was tweaked a little bit, and I'll explain that, but this is essentially the draft order that was approved by the planning board with the changes that I'll explain.
Okay, and you have the 2011 then on your slide? He's asking about the difference specifically between 2011 and last week.
I think it'll make sense when I
Okay.
show you how this is drafted.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
And PJ, can you promote me as a panelist on Zoom?
So if I can turn your attention to page 7 of 13 of the order that I just handed out to you. I'll give everyone a minute to flip.
Okay.
You can see condition 18 in this order actually references this old HPB file, 7245. And below it are stricken ABC sub-conditions that are now listed as 18 through 24. These are the conditions that were, the operational conditions that were in the planning board order as copied into the CUP. And you can see the modifications that were made and approved by the planning board last week. The only thing in here that would be a modification to kind of, everything strengthens the operational conditions, with the exception of D. And one thing that we were asking for and we withdrew at last week's hearing was the ability to have outdoor entertainment on our new event space on the second floor. That was withdrawn, so this was presented, this was Debbie's draft order prior to the hearing. So obviously in a week, we haven't got the modified approved version with incorporating all the discussion with the planning board. But we withdrew that request. There will be no outdoor entertainment on that second floor terrace as defined by the city.
So
The rest of these conditions are as you see here.
So D is now included in the order?
I don't know exactly how it's going to come through after the city attorney's office handles it.
Okay.
What I can tell you is we withdrew a request for outdoor entertainment, whether it just says second floor event terrace, outdoor entertainment, no, because Debbie did a really good job of kind of making these easier to follow along. Or if this is inserted back in, this specific language, in either circumstance, the end result is the same, which is there is no entertainment on that second floor terrace. And you kind of see how the rest of these operational conditions were really only strengthened.
Mitch?
Is there any outdoor event space that will have entertainment?
So the ground floor pool, like the pool area, has always had that right. It's since 2011, that was not modified. That's a that's a condition that remains. And then the only other,
A condition that allows for noise,
it
speakers?
allows for outdoor entertainment
Okay.
and in the pool and 3-meal restaurant area. There's a lot of restrictions in here about noise levels and compliance with the city's noise ordinance, and the fact that we have to have a distributed sound system, that staff will actually go out before we can get our CU and BTR. They will go onto the property, they will test the system, they will lock the system at a particular sound level that doesn't interfere with normal background conversation at ambient levels. There's a lot of stuff in there in terms of protections as to noise, and that's all still in there.
Has there been any noise complaints for the pool area?
No, if you were to go through the staff report, Debbie actually did like a narrative summary of noise complaints. The last one was in 2023 that was associated with a special event permit. The complaint came before the special event permit allowed this event. It was for the white party. It was allowed to operate till 8 p.m. Code came out before 8 p.m. The operator apologized profusely to
All right.
to the hotel management.
So-
it was resolved. Nothing else has happened since 2020.
Okay, how many noise complaints were issued since 2011 on the pool area?
I'm not aware
Staff?
of exactly. I can,
So let's just, so the idea here is to let the planning board control the operational issues, not to have the HPP. So I think this discussion is sort of irrelevant because they're not here with their argument to modify the conditions regarding entertainment for this board. They've already done that at the planning board. We don't want to have a conflicting condition where the HPB is reviewing the entertainment outdoors or any entertainment or any noise. That's the purview of the planning board. The planning board already reviewed that last week and already approved what they asked for last week. So
It's approved, it's
Yes.
not proposed, it's,
this is what Nick is stating has been approved by the planning board last week, exactly.
okay, but regarding the pool area,
But that was approved as with the conditions that he specified. Basically, entertainment that's allowed is going to be at background level. So if you have a DJ, so a DJ is considered entertainment regardless of the noise levels. But this, I think their conditions state that if they do have that, which is entertainment, it can't exceed what would be allowed to interfere with normal conversation. So that's sort of a protection that was put in place. But we're not, the purpose of this modification is not to talk about entertainment or talk about operations or hours. This is to remove all those conditions from this order so that the current orders, which is the current planning board approved last week and the current HPV order from last year.
I get that, Michael.
What we don't want to do is have one condition in here that applies, and we have to go back and look at all the prior orders and see, oh, there's one condition here that applies versus everything else. So to clean it up, all these conditions should be removed under the purview of planning board, and then any sort of violations, like if they get a violation, we put them on the board, we put them on the planning board for a progress report. The planning board can then actually revoke the CUP or modify the CUP.
Right.
And they've done that. I came from the planning board most recently, and the planning board has on their agenda almost every month revocation, modification proceedings for applicants with just one violation. So code notifies us. We do send out there's a procedure for that revocation or modification process, and the planning board has been diligent in terms of in doing that.
So does the CUP reference the pool area? Is it part of the
Well,
CUP?
Did you?
No, I just received this
Yeah,
now.
I'm sure it does. I mean, but it's still a moot point. There's no need for that to be reviewed by this board. This is not the planning board. This board should be reviewing, issues regarding historic preservation, design. We have an associated planning board order. That's what controls. We don't want to have them coming to both boards to modify.
I get that, but this was presented as entertainment on the second level.
No, that's been removed. That's been removed. So,
Yeah, I hear that, but there's entertainment at the pool level. And I guess my question is, did the planning board address that issue as
They
part of
did, yeah, they
the
addressed,
CUP
they addressed,
process?
yes,
Number
exactly.
7.
So basically, once you have a planning board order like that, they're going to address any sort of outdoor entertainment, any entertainment on the property is all going to be addressed by the planning board. It's not going to be something that they can sneak in, because once you have any sort of outdoor entertainment, that does require a CUP. if it's allowed, it does require a CUP.
So, Michael, again, for those who are kind of concerned that this might be a diminution of the Historic Preservation
I
Board's...
went through, yeah, I went through I went through every single
can you-
condition, every condition that was removed here, I went through and looked at to see, is this in the planning board? Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And did you do that in your report? Did you go through that to see?
I went through the conditions of this planning,
Yeah.
of this order to see if those operational conditions were included in the
And-
plan, and yes, they are.
And they
I didn't
are.
go through and look at all the new conditions. I just went through to see if all the
Right.
affected conditions here, all the information here was included in the planning board order, and yes, it was.
And it's your opinion it was. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So I,
And Mr. Chair, that's
Elizabeth had
also,
just one sec, just
so
sorry.
is there a mechanism in place? So let's say a project comes to us for historic preservation purposes, but the board decides to put an operation condition on that. So we have the right to do that, correct? So then our order would have the
Well-
design and the operation. So what prevents an applicant in the future, oh, I didn't like that, it's too restrictive, to apply them to the planning board for a different?
No, because the planning board, if you have to obtain a conditional use permit, only the planning board can approve that. So for example, if you have outdoor entertainment, only the planning board, so you can't come here for that.
No, I understand, but let's say there is no operational condition, pre-existing one. So there was a case like a couple months ago, there was the bar, and we mentioned that the bar should not operate past whatever hour.
But that's because, so in that case, they're asking for a variance regarding the,
Okay,
So that's
so, yeah,
different,
but
yes.
let's say, so then what prevents that applicant, for instance, next year, to say, oh, I want to extend my hours, so let me apply to the planning
no,
board
because in
for
that case,
operational?
there's an associated variance. So only the Historic Preservation Board can approve the variance for extending
I
the hours
see.
of operation.
Okay.
Now, I do think that that's an error in the code, because really that should be something that the planning board should review in terms of operations. I don't know why we require a variance for hours of operation for outdoor bar counter to come to here. That really should be the planning board. I think that was done because back years ago, remember, all variances were reviewed by the Board of Adjustment. So we tried to consolidate them, and so that if an applicant was coming to the Historic Preservation Board, they could just come to one board instead of having an application, for example, design, another application for variances, another application for a CUP. So we try to consolidate it for the applicants.
Thank you.
Lindsay? No, you're,
No, I was going to say that that is my understanding exactly why we changed it, in order to make it
Mind you.
arguably easier on the applicant, that they're not having to be before 3 different boards to get one project approved,
Yes.
in theory.
exactly.
I think probably looking, in the future, probably a condition in the 2024 order that said, this order supersedes, prior orders in terms of any previous operational conditions that were placed on the property previously, right? I mean, because I think right now, otherwise, you're right, you'd have to go through and look at all the prior orders in a property to see what applies if you don't have a condition like that in a new order.
Right, and that's kind of why I was asking why this wasn't discussed in '24. I mean, so I remember this application, I remember largely the discussion about traffic, but the circular flow, but nonetheless, I remember this application. And typically the history of I haven't gone back to look at it, but typically the history of the project and what has come before us and this and the other would have been presented. So those conditions would have been there. And so then, now that it's gone back to the planning board and just shifted things around, to me, it would have made more sense just to have said the 2024 order at that time supersedes all other, orders prior to
Agreed.
this, which
Yeah.
naturally follows as far as I'm concerned, right?
Agreed.
And so to the extent that needs to be made explicit. But I'm struggling a little bit with going back and modifying a 2011 order now. That's what I'm struggling with, right? Because when I go look at the statute, I can look at every version that ever existed. I know that there's a new version now, but I can still go look at the old version. And so now you're coming to us, asking us to go back and change a 2011 order. That's the struggle that I'm having, right? It's the procedure, not necessarily the outcome. How's that? Sorry, there was
No,
more of a question and
So-
more of a comment than a question, but.
So I think, so the board did something similar. Remember the Leslie Hotel on Ocean Drive? The board did this exact same thing, I think, in the summer, because we had some of the most restrictive operational conditions on the Leslie. And then we had an associated planning board order come at the same time, so we removed all those conditions from the Leslie and put them on the planning board. I do think that alternative to what they're doing here would have been to modify the 2024 order. But I think this is actually probably stronger because we're actually looking at all those conditions in 2011 versus the 2024 order could just, we're not looking at the prior conditions. So I think this is maybe more transparent because we're clearly going through and removing those conditions now as they were part of the 2011. In the end, basically, it should be that when we have an associated planning board order for a property, the HPB or DRB should not be reviewing the operational conditions.
So just so I'm clear, the outcome, and not the outcome practically speaking, but the outcome on paper, the 2011 order that was issued in 2011 will no longer exist? Is there any sort of historic record of it, or?
It'll exist. It'll be modified in the public record. We'll have the original order. We'll have this modified order. So it's all going to be in the public records.
Okay, I don't know what we're trying to achieve
Let's
here.
just clarify. So for example,
I'm looking at the lawyer.
This is cleanup. It really is just cleanup.
So right now, if I'm a permit reviewer and I'm giving this new application for the building permit, I'm going to go ahead and look and see all the orders that I can see on the property. I'm going to go ahead and find this 2011 order, and without this modification, I'm going to say, oh, all these conditions apply. That's why we're doing this, so that when someone looks at this in the future, they can see that this was modified, these conditions were there for historical record. They're not going to be deleted. I mean, we show the cross through, the strike through. That strike through exists, so it's not like we're removing the text. That text will be there with a strike through, not like we're eliminating. So it's all going to be there for historic record.
And Lindsay, if it would give the board comfort, that we could include just a reference to say, not incorporating the planning board order, because we're trying to get away from that, but a reference to say that, that on December,
9th, 2025,
Right.
that these conditions were addressed by the planning board and that order
that the planning board
encompasses.
approved a separate conditional use permit which addressed operational issues. I hope the applicant would not object to that, just for reference purposes, so that if someone came across this order, they could follow the paper trail.
Yeah, because otherwise, somebody looks at this and says, why did we delete all of this?
Right.
Especially when you're
I think
talking
it
about a layperson looking at this, as opposed to a permit, right? I want to make sure that the people who are concerned about why did the HPB delete these noise restrictions,
Right. I
Only-
understand.
they can see that this is where they need to go look as well.
Absolutely. In terms of outcome, really where we land here is the
Same place.
2024 HPV order controls the design of the project that you approved, and the 2025 CP order will control the operational conditions for that redesigned
With the
venue.
reference back to the 2011. right?
Yeah, I mean, so I would,
I think that's important.
I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, we've got
Well,
public
let's
comment.
do, let's,
And just
if we, yeah, go ahead. Go
Just,
ahead.
we do have to finish at noon today, so
Yes.
we need
We-
to
yes.
move quicker on these applications.
yes, yes.
But let me take public comment before we,
We first do board disclosures, and then are there any disclosures on this item? No? Okay, seeing none. Open public hearing?
there's any public comments?
Hi, Roger Goldblatt, MDPL 1000 Ocean Drive. We do not support the applicant's request to remove operational conditions from the 2011 Historic Preservation Board order. As I've observed the past half hour, this application lacks sufficient clarity regarding what is actually changing. We request a comparison showing the existing HPB conditions versus what was approved by the planning board, including any modifications made during that hearing. Without this information, we cannot adequately evaluate the true impact of the changes. We're also concerned about the precedent this could set for, we call board chopping, where applicants can seek approval from multiple boards and select the least restrictive outcome. The 2011 operational conditions were thoroughly considered and adopted for valid reasons. We request a deferral to allow adequate time for analysis and to ensure all parties understand the implications of removing these long-standing protections. Thank you.
Anyone, any other member of the public? wanna just-
There's nobody with their hand raised on Zoom.
Nobody on Zoom? Okay. Well, with that, we'll, thank you. We'll go to board member comment, or if you prefer to say something or make a motion once we have determined that nobody has anything left to say. Anything I'm looking at? Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think my thought process, and I appreciate the comments made by MDPL. I was skimming through this, and I will say I was skimming, but I also have in front of me testimony from two sworn witnesses, both our staff and the applicant, saying that they have gone through it one by one to ensure that the conditions are there. And I, aside from the one that was discussed, I haven't seen anything that I can't identify that didn't cross over. Admittedly, I don't love the fact that I got handed this morning while I'm sitting here in order to kind of go through this, because it wasn't part of my packet. But taking, as far as I'm concerned, taking the testimony into consideration and the fact that I have two witnesses who've testified that the conditions have in fact transferred over from the 2011 order to the CUP that is approved by the planning board. And therefore, the practical outcome is no different than if it stayed in place but for the cleanup. I think I can support this application as it stands.
And we will include a reference in this order to the 2025 approval from last week.
Yes, I with that one addition.
Anybody else want to comment on this before making a motion? Nope, seeing none. Do you want to make a motion and see to your?
Yeah, so I will move that we approve the application. Approve the application and the draft order as presented by staff with the addition of a reference to the CUP that was approved December 9, 2025. And then how are we dealing with this?
So there would be, if I understand your motion, there'd be two changes. One would be a reference to the December 9, 2025 planning board approval of a modified conditional use permit.
Correct.
And the purpose of that reference is to say that all operational conditions in effect for this application are set forth and have been consolidated in that modified conditional use permit.
Correct.
And then your second condition would be to
The 24 order would supersede.
say that in the event of a conflict between this order, meaning the modified 2011 order, and the 2024 order,
That the 2024 order
that the
would
2024
control.
order will control. And that's as to the design of the project.
Yes, okay. So let me see if I can restate that if necessary for clarity. So approve the draft order with the addition of a reference to the December 9, 2025 Planning Board CUP, and a reference that in the event of a conflict between the revised 2011 order that we're approving today in theory, and the 2024 order that we issued last year, that the 2024 order will control as to design.
That's right.
Okay, that is my motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Do you have
I have a question.
a question?
The planning board order doesn't take effect for 30 days, Nick? Or
No,
is it-
the planning board order takes effect once it's rendered. You may be alluding to the appeal period.
Yeah.
That an appeal could be followed, could be
Yeah.
filed within 30 days of rendition of the planning board
All right.
order.
Okay, so what I would add as a friendly amendment, if there should be an appeal, that our tentative approval today would be rescinded and it would come back to us.
Is that possible?
I would not recommend including that language. I think the planning board just held a hearing last week.
But the
And
actual.
If I
okay.
may, the planning board just held a hearing last week and approved modifications to the conditional use permit, which included a number of operational conditions that relate to noise and entertainment. If that order is appealed, then the operational issues are going to have to be resolved in the course of that appeal. Ultimately, if an application requires, if a project requires conditional use approval from the planning board controls on matters of operations. It's, you know, in instances where there is no planning board approval required, that this board may have the authority to impose operational conditions. But I think for clarity of the record and in light of the fact that the planning board just approved modifications to the CUP last week, I would not recommend having like a springing condition like that in this order.
Okay.
I was going to ask, could we delay the effective date of ours, like approve it effective 60 days from now? Is that a possibility?
Why would
Oh,
you,
sorry.
why would you do that, Lindsay? What was the, what would be?
Well, I'm not going to probably sign the order for within like a month anyway, so it's probably not going to happen for a month.
I took Mitch's concern to be that because the planning board order is not final, meaning that it could be appealed, he's concerned that the conditions drop off. I don't think that's realistic necessarily, but I understand where he's coming from, and so to guard against that, I was asking if that's a possibility. Honestly, I don't know, so that's why I directed it back that way. But then our lovely staff said that they're not going to sign it for a while anyhow, so.
All right.
Right.
I will second Lindsay's original.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's closing discussion, so, or no, it opens discussion. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, do you want to take a vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, you too. Michael, can I just ask about the continuance and 1600 Washington? Do we need a vote on that, or do you want to
Oh, I'm sorry.
talk about that?
You're right. I completely skipped that one. Actually, well, yeah, this is HPV 25-0656. This was officially continued to today's meeting. The applicant is requesting a continuance now to the January 13th meeting. We have already advertised it for January 13th. Just so you know, I have not been able to meet yet with the applicant. I think I'm meeting with them next week to go over design changes. At this point, they're probably going to be asking for another continuance, but unless they're here, I'd recommend the board approve a continuance to the January 13th meeting, and if needed, in January, they may ask for another continuance to the February meeting.
Okay. So once again, Michael, this is 1651 Washington?
This is, I'm sorry, HB 25-0656, 1600 Washington Avenue.
Oh, okay.
425 16th Street.
Yeah, all right.
And 61
Sorry.
Drexel Avenue. So just procedurally, I'd like the board members to vote on this. We have fully advertised it for January 13th, so the board does not really need to take any action today, but just for transparency, if someone's looking at this agenda, I'd like for them to see that this is going to be on the January meeting. So I'd ask the board to approve a motion to continue this to the January 13th meeting.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Do we have an applicant here? No one's standing
No, so
up, so I'm
that's-
guessing no.
I-
Okay, then I will move that we continue.
Okay. Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you. And thanks for catching that. I totally forgot about it. So our next application is HPV 25-0678. This is Slow Streets 2.0, includes Jefferson Avenue from 6th Street to 11th Street and 13th Street from Meridian Avenue to Washington Avenue. We have the city's transportation partner here for the presentation, and we are recommending approval. With that, I'll turn it over to Jose Gonzalez.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Just one second, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Were there any questions for staff about this? Did you present it as you're going to be, as much as you're going to present it? No questions? All right,
Okay,
please, sorry.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Jose Gonzalez, Transportation and Mobility Director, and I am joined this morning by our Senior Transportation Engineer, Ghassan Choueri, and Grant Webster, who is the project manager. He's our transportation planner and project manager for this project. We're also joined by our consultant, Alta Planning. So we have a brief presentation. And Street Plans, I'm sorry, and Street Plans Collaborative. We have a presentation, it's about 18 slides, give or take, but I'll go through it pretty quickly. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So what are slow streets? So slow streets, also called open streets, are roads, streets, usually in residential neighborhoods that are a safe environment for bicyclists and for pedestrians. The concept of slow streets really took off during the pandemic, when, as we all know, a lot of us were indoors, and so there was this need to be outside and enjoy the streets in a different way and have a different experience, in a way that is actually safe for pedestrians and for bicyclists. As you may remember, during that time, there were very few vehicles on the streets, and so vehicular speeds increased. And so slow streets was a way to make our residential streets safer for pedestrians and bicyclists. Also streets where multi-mobility modes of transportation are encouraged. During the pandemic, several metropolitan cities, including San Francisco, Nashville, Denver, LA, Milwaukee, and New York City, experimented with slow streets, and many of those cities have kept slow streets in one form or another. So the slow streets in the Flamingo Park neighborhood has evolved over the years. It started as an experiment, actually led by the late Commissioner Mark Samuelin back in 2020, 2021. And as part of that pilot program, we designated several streets as slow streets with very temporary materials and interventions. Here you see a couple photos of what slow streets, what we're dubbing as 1.0, looked like back in 2020 or 2021. So very, as you can see, very rustic materials, barricades, construction type barricades that say construction, that say local traffic only. We then tried to make it a little more attractive and created, some unique signage, bilingual actually, throughout the neighborhoods, telling people to slow down, that the speed was 20 miles an hour, and that these were streets that were safe, intended to be safe for pedestrians and bicyclists. And the goal was really to test out these interventions to see if there was an opportunity to make them permanent in the long term. So there were several lessons that were learned as part of that 1.0 pilot program. The first one that I want to mention is that the concept in and of itself was embraced by the community. Making streets safer, it's motherhood and apple pie. Who can argue with that? However, there were some concerns that were identified. Among them, the need for the materials to be more aesthetic and more durable. If any of you were here during that time or lived in the neighborhood, you may remember that some of those signs were frequently knocked down. Even on a windy day, they were knocked down and then required a lot of maintenance. It was also this test was done with a very low budget, so these were not very durable aesthetic materials. So we learned that if we wanted this to be implemented on a long-term basis, for it to be viable and an asset to the community, the long-term maintenance issues needed to be addressed. And because it was a pilot, we collected data both before the pilot and after, and the data actually showed that these very temporary interventions were very effective in reducing speeds, particularly on the very wide streets. There's some streets in the neighborhood that are extremely wide, easy to speed through. So these interventions, located in the middle of the street, sometimes, as you can see, were effective in that regard. So let's fast forward to Flamingo Streets 2.0. So the goals of the 2.0 project are initially the same as the 1.0. The idea is to create friendly streets. However, the method is very different. It's a little more permanent in nature, and we actually brought some materials for you to see here, and they'll also be on the PowerPoint presentation for those viewing from home. So one of the first things we did with 2.0 was to engage the community. We worked very closely with the Flamingo Park Neighborhood Association, community activists and leaders to try to, first and foremost, identify the streets where these interventions should occur. We wish that we could do them on more streets. However, the budget was simply not there. So the consensus was to focus on streets that provide direct connectivity to Flamingo Park, probably the most valuable asset in the Flamingo Park neighborhood. And so as a result of that, the streets of Jefferson Avenue and 13th Street were identified as the streets to focus on as part of this Slow Streets 2.0 effort. So some of the key features that we are proposing as part of Slow Streets 2.0 along Jefferson Avenue and along 13th Street include a parking protected two-way green cycle track along Jefferson Avenue from 6th Street to 11th Street, traffic calming features along 13th Street from Meridian Avenue to Washington Avenue, and painted and delineated curb extensions along both streets. So why these streets and why this design? As I mentioned, these streets provide the main ingress and egress for Flamingo Park. Also, particular to the cycle track. Why a cycle track? A lot of people may ask, why not just a conventional bike lane, one on each side of the street, one going north and one going south? Well, Jefferson Avenue just simply isn't wide enough to provide a 2-foot buffer, and that's a required 2-foot buffer for the bike lane on both sides of the street. By consolidating both bike lanes as one facility on one side of the street, there's actually economies of scale and cost savings for the project, because we save on the number of protection devices, we save in terms of the buffer areas that are needed, and striping and paint. So basically, it's a cost savings as well as a feasibility issue in terms of moving forward with a cycle track rather than two-way separated bike lanes on each side of the street. Also want to mention that a cycle track reduces the number of conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles entering and exiting driveways, for example, if they're consolidated on one side of the street rather than on both sides. So these are some excerpts from our 100% signed and sealed permit drawings from October of 2024. This shows Jefferson Avenue, specifically between 7th Street and 8th Street. It shows the cycle track along the west side of Jefferson Avenue. And here you see 2 intersections, but along Jefferson Avenue, we'll have 6 intersections with painted curb extensions between 6th Street and 11th Street. And I'll get into a little bit of detail on the painted curb extensions in a second. This is an excerpt of 13th Street between Euclid and Pennsylvania Avenues. What this shows is the speed cushions that we're proposing along 13th Street to calm traffic. It shows the painted medians.
Can you use your cursor to point that out, please?
Sure, if someone can direct me as to where the cursor is.
No, it's on your computer.
Oh.
Just the little
Okay.
thing. So because you're pointing out tiny things, I'm not sure we can
Yes.
see them.
Okay, so the speed cushions are these little green rectangular symbols
Oh,
that I'm pointing to.
I don't see your cursor. Oh, is your hand, is the cursor there?
I'm seeing the cursor here.
You are.
I'm
Oh,
sure
usually
you
we
are.
see it with you. Okay.
So they're these, right?
No.
Okay, so first let me make sure no, it's a point. Do you know how to point on this thing so that they see it?
Oh, maybe if you do it like that, yeah, we can see it there. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. There's your arrow.
All right. So,
Go ahead and
Go on to
use
the
the
next.
cursor, Jose, with your finger, use the trackpad, and then you'll be able, there you go.
Yeah, there
All
you
right,
go.
there you see that.
Perfect.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
the
That really
speed
helps.
cushions are actually these white boxes here. Is it showing?
No, it's not
showing on
this one. It's right there.
Can you point to it?
Okay, so this is Gassan. So the speed bump is basically right here is the pavement marking. The speed bump is between the two bumps. I do not know why it's showing this.
There you go.
Where the two bumps, I need to see if I can draw something in here.
Oh, it's okay. You can just
It's
show
in
us with your
between the
cursor.
two, it's in
Okay.
between the two bumps, where it says bumps.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and there's one bump right here, one bump right here, but there's one in in between.
Okay.
I do not know where it's
We'll try to get a better picture maybe.
Yes.
Okay, so, and apologies for that. All right, so the elements under this board's purview, and really the reason that we're here today are to discuss two items, the bless you, the K71 bollards and the curb extension paint. So the K71 bollards, which we're proposing to be white in color, are more aesthetically appealing than the typical very thin white plastic delineators that we see along some of the roadways that are used more for construction type projects and temporary applications. They also provide more enhanced protection because they're, as you can see, they're wider, they're more robust, they have more reflectivity to them. And so the idea is to place these bollards at the edges of the curb extensions, at the intersections, at all 4 points of the intersections, to dedicate the area, that curb extension, as a safe pedestrian refuge area. And then we're also proposing to install these devices at the entrances and at the ends of each block on the bike lane to deter vehicles from entering and driving along the bike lane. And then the third location where we're proposing to install them is along the painted medians on 13th Street. So 13th Street will have some painted medians to visually narrow the road for drivers, because the lanes are currently very wide. So by narrowing the travel lanes, it gives drivers that visual feel that the road is more narrow and it reduces vehicular speeds. And by adding these K71 bollards, it further delineates the travel lane and really slows traffic down. These are some images not along 13th Street or along Jefferson Avenue, just, other places. You see what they look during the daytime and the nighttime reflectivity as well. Here you see some examples from Los Angeles and California. On the right, you see them in green. They come in different colors, again, just used to delineate areas. And they are drivable. If a car, where there's a will, there's a way. If a car goes over it, they, depending on the speed, they may either pop back up, or if they don't, then, they will need to be maintained. Here's an example of the K71 bollards installed in the painted median. Here they're, on the left you see them very closely spaced. On the right you see them, further spaced, and I'll get into the spacing of these in a second. So these are some of the technical specifications for the K71 bollard. As I mentioned, we're proposing them to be white, to be spaced at 8 feet center to center. And they attach to the asphalt through a rubber base and a bolt. So if they do fall down, they're very easy to just re-erect or to replace. The second element that we're discussing for the board's consideration are the painted curb extensions, specifically the paint, which is the brand is Street Bond SB 150, and the color that was selected is Rose Dust. Rose Dust. So. Thank you. And we have a sample which Grant will share with you all. So this particular paint color that you're seeing was chosen from a test of several colors with the goal of resembling the Miami Beach red that we have in our sidewalks as much as possible, and this was the closest that we came to that. As I mentioned, curb extensions create a designated area, expanded area for pedestrians, and they also shorten the distance that pedestrians are exposed to traffic when crossing the streets at intersections. It's a visual message to drivers that this area is not intended to be driven on. It is dedicated for pedestrians. And with regard to the maintenance, I know that that's a key issue for the board as well as for the community. It's something we've been hearing from the very first meeting we had. The idea is to clean the curb extensions on a regular basis. As it is, the sanitation department sweeps and hand cleans the area pretty frequently, so that will continue. And then in terms of the paint, we do expect that this paint will last probably about a couple years. Keep in mind that no vehicular traffic will be driving on this paint, so we expect that, it will last, but we will maintain it as needed. Again, always provided that the funding is available, but we will make sure that in advance the funding is budgeted for so that they could be maintained as needed. So here you see on the left is an image of the paint that we selected that most resembles the Miami Beach red. It's the paint that's within the green square that you see on the left side of the image. And this is the same paint that's used for transit lanes that we've seen in, other metropolitan cities in the US. So it's very durable. It is actually meant for vehicular traffic. However, in our case, it will not be exposed to vehicular traffic. And these are some of the specifications for the Street Bond paint. I just want to, point out that it's water-based, and it's expected to be durable even under, very wet conditions. And as I mentioned, it is expected to last over 2 years without repainting, but we're going to be closely monitoring that to maintain as needed. And it will be applied professionally using several coats and an industry-grade sealant. And with that, that is our presentation, and we welcome any questions the board may have.
Okay, thank you very much. Ray, we'll go up the line here.
Jose, question for you. I've been to many different cities, and they all handle bicycles and pedestrians differently. Do you have a model that you've followed here, or is this just something that you've come up with just strictly for Miami Beach? Or did you actually go out and look and see at other areas of how they've handled this type of situation?
So it's a blend of both. It's a blend of the two. You may recall that back in 2015, 2016, we adopted a bicycle pedestrian master plan. Actually, it was developed by Street Plans Collaborative, the same firm that's involved with this project. And the master plan did look at other cities, not just within the continental US, but Europe and abroad, to see what they were doing in terms of safe bicycle facilities at that time. So our bicycle pedestrian master plan is sort of the blueprint. However, over the years, because that was 2015, over the years, other cities have experimented with different types of applications of bicycle facilities, including here in Miami Beach as well. During the pandemic, we had an experimental bicycle lane on on Washington Avenue. It was the first parking protected bicycle lane in Miami-Dade County. Ocean Drive has a cycle track, a two-way cycle track as well. So we've done a cycle track
Then you're going to
before.
be doing one on 22nd Street too.
And on 22nd Street in construction, yes. So, yeah, cycle tracks are.
I think specifically the bollards, are those bollards ones that have been used other places? Or is this something that you have decided to try here for the first time?
So it would be something that's being tested in Miami Beach for the first time. I'm not aware of K-71
Other
bollard
cities or anything else that have
application, certainly not in
used these?
Miami-Dade County. I'm not sure about, all over the world, but not in Miami-Dade County.
Thank you.
Wait, Haskell?
I just have a quick question regarding transition back from a cycle track to unidirectional. Where does that transition occur? How do you account for that?
So the cycle track will extend from 6th Street on the south to 13th Street on the north. So, and I'm going to ask Hassan.
In other words, when it reverts back to unidirectional, how do you transition from a cycle track?
So
Where does
there's
that
a
occur?
Specific way to transition, I'm going to.
So we shared the
Hassan.
plans. This is good.
Can you put it up with maybe you have the presentation?
Well, I don't have them on the presentation, but I can share the plans and I put it up on the page and share it with you guys. So on the north side, this is Gassan. So on the north side, it goes to, like you gotta
We have
go-
to see this. We have to
Oh,
see something.
okay.
We can't be,
Can I-
and
Can you
maybe
tell
you
us-
can you put it up on the screen somehow, or?
We can email it.
Or is
No,
it,
I'm not, public has to see it too. Maybe,
Okay.
is it in the plans that we're looking
is
at?
there a camera that can pick this up?
So the
Was it in the hard copy of the
plans
plans?
are actually.
So what-
This is
so
a
what-
hard copy?
Correct,
So
so what page?
that is striping plan, yep, oh my, testing my glasses, ST01, is that right? No?
There's numbers lower right now.
Oh, okay. 10 out of 34.
And then on the south side, it's sheet 13 out of 34.
10 out of 34.
And then
Okay.
Did you get that? Sorry.
It's sheet 10 out of 34 down here, or
Looking at the bottom right.
ST,
Yeah.
VEO4?
uh,
ST.
ST01. Oh, Q1? 01.
And then it looks like STO4 is where it transitions?
Yes, at the south side on 6th Street.
Okay, and then STO4.
So basically, it's at the sidewalk where you
It's at the
transition.
crosswalk. The transition is at the intersection itself, so cyclists would use the crosswalk to transition from
Got it.
the cycle track to the conventional two-way bike lanes.
Okay. Thank you.
There will be showing landscaping in this plan. Is there, like, trees that are there that are being removed or anything? Because it's just showing very hardscape.
No trees will be removed as part of this project.
Thank you.
All right, so, Haskell, you're finished? Okay, thank you. You had a question. That was the question I was going to ask too. But
Hi, Jose. I have many questions. The plans call for a quantity of 521 bollards. I'm looking at page VEO4, which is 6th and Jefferson, and I'm counting 53 bollards on that intersection. 12, 13, 14, and 14. That's the northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest intersection. I'm just very concerned about the visual impact these bollards are going to have. It seems excessive. And moreover, you said the plans were signed and sealed. The reason this is here today is because of my communication with your department, which my colleagues received today, the email thread. This, by all means, should have come to us for review before the plans were signed and sealed. I do have a small presentation that PJ has, just a handful or 10 or so slides. I've been following this Slow Streets 1.0 since its inception. Mark and I often had a colorful dialogue on this project. It began with, aside from the beautiful egret, these MOT construction signs. I raised the issue, what's going on here? What kind of public works project is happening? And I was told it's a Slow Streets project. And more complaints followed from residents. And you see the MOT signs, and then these blue signs appeared that explained what was happening. PJ, next slide. So this is the evolution of Slow Streets 1.0. These signs and delineators, as they're called, these bollards in the street. Next slide. Then all of a sudden came these plants in a bag, all $20,000 worth. Really cluttered up the neighborhood. Next slide. Again, plant in a bag, sign, and bollards. Next slide, please. These things were often hit regularly. I've seen them. I've seen a fire truck hit these things. Next slide. Okay, these are the plants in a bag. I like this photo. They were all smashed regularly. This entire initiative has been plagued with, just blunder after blunder. Next slide. This is the cost of, was it 1.0? $150,000. Okay. Next slide. Again, this is one of the corners showing, or intersections showing 50 plus of bollards. This is something more appropriate for 395 or I-95 in a construction zone, not for a residential area, especially in a historic district. I really wish you would have had this brought to us before you had your signed and sealed plans. Next image. This is recent cars driving over these, what do they call, tri-curbs. That was when they were first put in. I guess people need to get used to them. Next slide. This budget, million plus. On this design, which I believe has decimated the entire neighborhood. Let me be clear. I'm a cyclist. I'm a pedestrian. I occasionally drive my vehicle. Right now, the vehicular traffic of a delivery truck should be making a stop. It's turned into gridlock. I don't understand why you couldn't have recreated what was done on Euclid in Pennsylvania. I use those lanes, no drama. What you created there is very disruptive as a property owner as well. Next slide. Okay, there's a 14-second video. PJ, are you able to put that on? Got clearance from staff. Okay, this was from 2021. You see these delineators on each corner. I believe it was Meridian and 10th. I saw this. I took the video, raised the question, what's going on here? They were immediately removed. So basically, it's this mock-up, which is the precipitous of the plan in front of us. These things are, again, I'm just, nothing against green bike lanes. It's these delineators. They don't belong. in this community. One or two, but certainly not 50 at an intersection. At the fire station, again, poor planning. You put the green bike lane and you remove parking. Every block has had a net loss of parking, but especially those people by Fire Station 1. It's the whole corridor. Blunder after blunder.
So Mitch, can you summarize your statement with a question to the applicant?
Why don't you have a rendering of what our intersections are going to look like? You know, not everybody, especially from the public, can read and understand these plans.
Okay. Do you want to address that, or do you?
I would love to see one of our intersections with a rendering showing what these bollards would look like.
And then we'll go to the other colleagues have questions too, but do you want to answer the question about the rendering, if that's possible?
I will see if we have something that we can show, readily available to show now, ideally. If not, then we would need to send that separately to you. Fair point, what will it look like at the intersections?
Yeah.
Understood.
Jose, all these interventions, you referred to them. I live in the entertainment district. There was a period when the buses were relocated to Collins Avenue. The parking spaces were moved into the middle lane along Washington. And moreover, Ocean Drive was closed off to pedestrian traffic via a block party permit, creating Ocean Court, complete traffic gridlock. And regularly there were shootings and stampedes. You guys are not making the city safer with what you did on 6th Street. I think, I'm wondering, how many people have been hit? I know I was almost hit driving in the bike lane the other night, and I don't want to see this this corridor plagued with stop signs everywhere. I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done and addressed. I want to say my email thread, it needs to be part of the record.
We got it.
The staff
We have
received it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mitch. And my colleagues do not have further comments on this. So further questions, well, there are questions embedded in comments, which often happens here. And so next would be board disclosures. Are there any disclosures of communications with the team? No? Now we will open it to the public hearing. If there's anybody online or in the room?
We have several online. We can start with the members here in chambers.
Of course, Roger, yes. If you could just, step away, so we'll have the public hearing, then we'll invite you back up to, for the comment.
Great. Roger Goldblatt, MDPL. We support this project subject to staff recommendations. The slow streets are already halfway implemented, and the remaining elements, the painted curb extensions and protective bollards, are critical public safety features designed by licensed engineers and approved by the County Transportation Department. The project continues the success of many public hearings, community workshops, and neighborhood walkthroughs. The curb extensions will improve visibility and shorten crossing distances for pedestrians, while bollards prevent drivers from parking or blocking the bulb outs. We believe the project will enhance the livability and workability to make Miami Beach special, especially in the Flamingo Park neighborhood, which has among the highest number of people biking and walking in the city. We believe protecting and enhancing the pedestrian and cyclist experience is very much within the scope of historic preservation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Should I press a button or anything?
No, you're on. Just say your name and address.
Sure, my name is Jake Kern, and I live at 610 Jefferson Avenue. I actually have the privilege of living in Mitch's building. I've lived in Miami-Dade County about 18, 19 years, of which I've lived on the beach in Mitch's building in 3 different apartments for probably 12, 13, 14 years. I'm actually the Assistant Zoning Director of the City of Miami. And so I've got an urban planning degree and a master's in architecture. That's how I ended up down here. I went to University of Miami. I studied new urbanism, smart growth, and I actually fell in love with South Florida, and that's how I ended up moving to Miami Beach itself. I lived in Coral Gables, I lived in downtown, and ultimately chose to live in Miami Beach for the community that we have about walkability and bikeability. I'm also somebody who does not own a car. When I first moved to the beach, I did have a car. I had a Jeep, and after a few years, I sold it because this is one of the few places in Miami-Dade County where you can live a carless lifestyle. I lived on the beach before we had City Bike or Deco Bike, before we had Uber and Car2Go, so I'm a big, huge supporter of the Slow Streets initiative that you guys are pushing for. I think that's a great initiative, and I know that there's been fits and starts. I've seen it too. You know, I said before, I'm the Assistant Zoning Director at City of Miami. We have fits and starts over there too. Government's not an easy process. I see it and live it, breathe it every single day. But I do support the bike lane, and I specifically support the cycle track concept. You know, I just went for my 40th birthday to Amsterdam and Paris, and wow, we have almost a similar population density as Amsterdam, but we don't have the capacity, the infrastructure they have. So I support initiatives like this. I think this is very important. It's going to be great for tourism. It's great for safety. There's so many kids who bike on Jefferson Avenue because people are coming through Flamingo Park down to South Point Elementary. I actually biked using the cycle track today to come here before the meeting, and I saw a father with a young child on front on an electric scooter on the cycle track. So we need to shift the culture, and I think this is a good step in the right direction. I support the curb extensions. I think that is important to neck down the intersection. It lowers the curb radius, it slows the traffic. However, I'm not sure if I would necessarily support the bollards. Again, I think we should look at what they've done in Amsterdam, right? They have cycle tracks all over Amsterdam. They got canals, it goes up, it goes down, they got cobblestone streets. They do it with a lot less bollards. I do think we need the intersections neck down. I know that later phase that'll probably become a raised curb, and so in the interim they're trying to paint it and put some bollards. I get that. I don't know if that's the right selection, but to conclude, I support the efforts of the Slow Street movement. I think this is a good project. Maybe we need to consider some of the details alternatively. Maybe there shouldn't be some on-street parking in front of the fire station so it can make the turns, but I think this is a great project for the city, and we should continue efforts like this going forward.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Anybody else? Yes.
Good morning. Good morning, HP board members. My name is Matthew Goltanoff, and I live at 125 Jefferson Avenue. This morning, I'm speaking as a private resident. I respectfully ask that you approve the certificate of appropriateness for the remaining portions of the Slow Streets project so that it can reach its full potential and be a safe passageway for everyone. The project started a few years ago, community-driven and championed by the late Commissioner Mark Samulin. The objective is to slow traffic and provide safe places for people biking and rolling to get to, from, and through Flamingo Park. Through numerous public meetings, community workshops, and neighborhood walkthroughs, the project evolved into the proposal in front of you. It was designed and engineered by licensed professionals, and it was approved and permitted by the County Transportation Department. This is a showcase of new and innovative strategies and treatments for Miami Beach, but tried and true best practices around the country. For example, Hoboken, New Jersey, just across the river from Manhattan, is a dense urban city of nearly 60,000 people. They utilize similar treatments at intersections, including bollards, and they've not had a traffic-related fatality that includes pedestrians, bicyclists, and drivers for nearly 9 years. The last one was January 2017. I'd also like to disclose that Mr. Novick has mentioned to me his concerns and his objectives, and he has promised to approach this hearing with an open mind and to review it objectively. Now that was prepared. I think we can all agree that perhaps he's already made up his mind. But that all being said, I ask you to approve the certificate of appropriateness because it meets the criteria that you all are reviewing, and it is recommended for approval by the city's professional and planning staff. Could I have one more minute, please, Mr. Chair?
Can you please wrap it up quickly? Because I think you got your point.
All right. In a city where people routinely ride bikes, routinely ride bikes as part of the regular routine. It's important that steady progress be made in implementing the bicycle pedestrian master plan and a network of safe, comfortable, and low-stress networks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I hope that you approve this today.
Good to see you. Thank you.
We'll move now to the online
Yes.
comment. First is Johan Moore.
Johan, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You have 2
Good
minutes.
morning, board members and staff. Johan Moore, 717 Jefferson Avenue. I have the privilege of living across the street from these bike lanes. There are a couple of issues that I feel haven't been really fully addressed here today. The one is a practical concern. According to city staff communication of yesterday, these bike lanes are not yet officially open. The bollards have been removed, though. The orange barrels have been removed, though. I gather by well-intentioned but misguided members of the community, because in the absence of certain finalized details, it is unsafe. And were someone to be injured or, heaven forbid, killed, there might be liability. Although the city has not yet declared the bike lanes officially open, according to yesterday's communication, people are using them, and a lawsuit could be based in an allegation of negligence on the part of the city for not maintaining those closures. I'm not suggesting it's a good use of police officers' time to sit at each of the intersections, but you get my point. I would implore you to make a decision today so that these currently open, if not officially, and unsafe conditions, and I would point specifically to a gap across from the fire station wide enough for a vehicle to back up into the, let us imagine, 2 adults and 3 little children on tiny bikes, and one of them gets creamed by the vehicle, making a U-turn from that south-facing position in an attempt to get to 11th Street. I would also, in principle, agree with Mitch's objections, but this is really a financial question, as Jose Gonzalez pointed out to us. If we had twice as much money, well, we could address the other concern that one member of the community has raised and, in fact, put a bike lane on each side, but we don't. We also don't have the money in order to put cement curb protectors at the intersections. So we're faced with going forward with what we have.
Thank you very much.
You're generally supportive. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next caller is Jane Krupp.
Jane, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, Jane Krupp, 1390 Ocean Drive. I'm a regular biker. I don't have a car. One of the reasons I'm here surviving in Miami Beach for 20 years is my bicycle. And I regularly go through Flamingo Park via 13th Street. I enter the park and then I exit at 11th Street, basically to go to Whole Foods and do errands on Alton Road. So I'm very familiar with the safety issues, and one of the things that is kind of, to me, is the elephant in the room is how unsafe 11th Street is, where they have optional stop signs that cars blow through. They travel very fast in the east-west direction. That's not being addressed at all. The other thing is, since this is historic preservation and we're talking about aesthetics, I just think this plan is complete overkill. As I agree with Mitch, it belongs on a highway. We don't need bollards. We need something subtle and aesthetic. And two suggestions I have. One, lower the speed limit. Why can't, a simple solution, and put speed bumps. Those are 2 things that are unobtrusive, that are low-key, and do not interfere with the historic nature of the neighborhood. This is complete overkill, unnecessary, and the budget is ridiculous. Come up with a better design, is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Next caller is Daniel.
Daniel, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, thank you. Daniel Seraldo. Good morning, board members. I'm calling today as a resident of Flamingo Park neighborhood, and my address is 730 10th Street. I was also there with Mark Samuelin when this all got started. But before that, in high school in the early 2000s, one of my best friend's car was totaled on Euclid Avenue shortly after they added many more stop signs in Flamingo Park. which was very important. And I was sort of shocked to hear a member of the board say there shouldn't be more stop signs. This is all about safety, whether you use a bike, whether you use car, but we're in a walkable neighborhood. Parking is nice to have, but more and more of the people moving into my building, my neighborhood, don't have a car. And I think that's a great thing. Also, I want to mention that the video shown was actually my intersection, 10th and Meridian. The delineators at Mitch didn't like, and shortly after they were removed, one of my relatives' cars was totaled when another car sped through. So in conclusion, please rely on the competent staff and move this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller is Allison Cotter.
Allison, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Hi, I'm Allison Cotter, 900 Lennox Avenue. Been living in Miami Beach over 30 years. I've made it my priority to use this bike lane. Sorry, I thought it was open already. I use it every single day, and two things have occurred. One, the people who were putting the groceries out from shopping put it right in the bike lane. So that's become a huge problem, and that's the only thing they can do. It's not their fault. The others, I've also driven down the street every single day, testing this out, and I found that when you have like the Amazon truck stops, I was going south, the Amazon truck was parked going south. We all had to have one lane, and it took a wide street and it made it small. And then the traffic backed up because there was no room for everybody to get by. In my opinion, it needs to be a better plan, because when you take a street and you basically have to go down to one lane, and this, I kept writing it, and this kept happening all day long and for the last 2 weeks, that I think it's the wrong plan. So I'd like to address that.
Okay, thank you. Our next caller is Eve Khan.
Eve, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
you.
Thank you. Eve Khan, resident of 1050 Jefferson Avenue, directly across the street from Fire Station Number 1. I have to concur with the statements made by Mitch and supported by Jane that have already been shared this morning. These lanes on Jefferson Avenue have been completely muddled. The fact that they've taken up, valuable parking in the Flamingo Park neighborhood and have completely disregarded where the residents are supposed to park, including across from the fire station where, many people in my building who do have cars and we don't have parking associated had parked for, the whole history of the building. I think the fact that, the access to the fire station by the ambulances and the fire trucks was not taken into consideration while planning this project, and that is abundantly clear in the short turning radius for all of those important vehicles in the neighborhood, let alone the access for residents, for drivers, for delivery drivers, et cetera, especially in that section that is right adjacent to 11th Street and to the park itself. I think further, the fact that the bike lanes were completed, over a month ago, but are not officially open yet, is just ludicrous. If they're going to be used, they should be used immediately. The orange barrels that are dotting the center of the bike lanes need to be removed. I've seen countless people while walking around the neighborhood, people on bikes, whether they're motorized or, human driven, are not even using the bike lanes and just going down the already extremely narrow street that have been implemented. I think this project was not planned well, and I think it hasn't been implemented well as either. And I think anything that we can do to modify the project to be more in line with what has been done on Euclid and Meridian would be the best outcome for the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Eve. Yep.
That concludes our public comment.
All right. So would you like to respond to any of, doesn't that go?
If I may, yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple points I want to make. First, the opening of the bike lane. Yes, it's currently not officially open because federal requirements require that the bike lanes be protected at the endpoints so that vehicles can't easily just drive on them. And that's part of the situation that we're in with the K-71 bollards, which are being proposed to fulfill that function. Until there is some sort of protection for the bike lanes at each end, we cannot officially open the bike lane. So that's something I want to clarify. Secondly, with the fire station, the issue has been resolved, addressed, so that the largest vehicle that the fire department has, which is the ladder truck, can now make a smooth turn out of the fire station and into the travel lane. So that has been addressed, and I want to clarify that for the record.
Jose,
Yes.
but-
Wait.
I'm sorry.
Let him finish this. Go ahead. Please.
Okay, so then the issue of the K-71 bollards, again, just want to add a little bit more information for context. The federal requirements don't dictate that it has to be that device. That is the device that was selected as part of the design process, vetted with the community, and is being proposed. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that device. There are alternative devices that could fulfill the same function and also be acceptable. The advantage of a K-71 bollard is the height. It's more easily visible by drivers. There are other devices that could potentially also be used in its place, which are shorter. You may be familiar, for example, with the Zikla armadillos that are used along bike lanes. That's a form of protection, very low to the ground, but nevertheless a form of protection that could potentially also be applied.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll close the, did you want, no, you're okay? You're good? We'll probably have a little bit more back and forth. Would anybody like to make any comments? Should I start at this end? Any comments? You'll wait? Okay. Elizabeth, any comments?
No, I can ask.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
No, so, Jose,
Yes.
I was just wondering if, following up on what the last person spoke about, the bike lanes on Meridian, and I can't remember the other street you mentioned, did you have like the chance to examine the ones that exist and check like lessons learned and what didn't work before designing this? So what problems did you see with the one in Meridian that the speaker had mentioned too, that you're trying to avoid repeating the same mistakes, implementing a different design?
Sure, good question. So there's nothing wrong with the bicycle lanes on Meridian. There are just different types of bicycle lane applications. The cycle track, as I mentioned previously, has advantages that are a good fit for Jefferson Avenue. A big part of selecting the right bike lane for a roadway is the space that's available and how much parking will be lost as a result. There's actually less parking lost through a cycle track than through two-way conventional bike lanes on both sides of the road. Then you're losing parking on both sides. So that was something, clearly parking demand is high in the Flamingo Park neighborhood, something that I'm intimately familiar with. I was interim parking director for over a year, as well as transportation director, so very familiar with it and heard it loud and clear from the community. We tried to be as sensitive as possible to parking loss. There's some parking loss which is required because of sight lines from driveways and from intersections. There's got to be clear areas, and as a result of that, and that happens with any project, not just a bike lane. It could be a new roadway project. We've seen it with other projects in the city, capital improvement projects, where parking is lost as a result of a new project coming in because there are new standards dictating sight lines that have been adopted over the years, and some of these roads have not been improved in many years. So these are factors that we're sensitive to. when designing the, the cycle track and the slow streets. And just something that I want to clarify, with the K71 bollards, I was speaking in terms of the bike lane. They're not necessary at the ends of the bike lane. There are other treatments. However, for the curb extensions, my understanding is that the federal requirements do require something vertical.
Like protection.
Protection, but low protection or high protection? Go ahead.
So, sorry, Ghassan Shweri again, Senior Transportation Engineer. So the main thing in regards to the curb extensions, we have to have protection for pedestrians too. It's not just only for bicycles. So with.
Can you put the image up and show us what you're talking about? Like, just, you have a plan in your presentation, just use the cursor to just show us exactly the moment that you say you need these vertical bollards.
All right. I'm gonna show.
You had a plan with the intersection, just because you're talking about a certain part of the intersection. Can you go to your plan?
They did not show it in here.
Oh, it's not in there? All right.
VE4.
Okay. It's in there?
I'm not sure he has everything in that, but in Jose's presentation, I'm sure, I know there was a plan. We were looking
Yes.
at it
It's
with
just difficult to see.
yeah, but even a
So
little bit.
I've shared it right now.
Yeah, like this. So where are you talking about? These?
Okay. So
Yeah, perfect. I can see your cursor.
let me move to the other
I
one.
could
It's
see your
easier.
cursor for a second.
So right at where the crosswalk is,
I can't see the cursor. It was there a second ago. Maybe you can just take it out. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Yep.
so at the crosswalk,
If I may, maybe
Yes.
you can zoom in on that slide, the
Using
bottom
the little-
right-hand corner,
Yeah.
so that we can see what you're pointing at.
There you go.
let me see.
There you
Yeah,
go.
you can just pull that up a little bit.
There we go.
Perfect.
And then scroll so you can show us exactly. Thank you.
Okay. So at the curb extension, this pink colored ones, they have to be also protected for pedestrians whenever they are crossing. So the main thing in regards to this is that whenever you're crossing, you are shortening the distance of a person in the street. So we want to protect them from being hit and they are more visible. That's also another thing that we have this, a little bit of spacing between the parking spot and the crosswalk. This is a federal regulation also, that we have to be at least 30 feet on the approach, 20 feet on the departure. So that's why we wanted to block them off, so that way a car does not park in the crosswalk. A car does not get in, trying to, it's at the stop sign and trying to move on the right hand and trying to make a right in the crosswalk of a pedestrian. With the K71 bollards, I can say that, I've actually used them at City of Los Angeles, on Main Street, Spring Street, Figueroa Street. I've installed them. They have been used since 2017, 2018. They have been very useful, and they
On
are
that-
very
On
durable.
that plan, where would the bollards be? Can you just put your arrow? I don't
Yes.
see them on the plan.
Yes, so they are at the edges.
They're there?
Yeah, but they are not shown on this one. I'll tell
Okay.
you.
John, they're shown on VE 01, which is sheet 17 to 34. Okay.
But for a public
I don't think they have that
presentation.
up there is the problem.
It's okay. It's okay.
sheet
This shows
20.
where they would be, so
Yeah.
the bollards would need to be along the edge
They will
of
be
that
at this
beige, the pink, the dusty rose, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they will be at the edges and spaced 8 feet apart.
8 feet apart or 12 inches off center?
Well,
It's
depends.
showing as a
There are
foot
two-
apart on my plans.
There are two different things. The 12 inches on center is between, there
I
are two
think what
lines.
Mitch originally asked for was like a rendering of that intersection.
Yes.
Would be much easier for all of us to see, because now we're all looking at this, and I think his original request is something that would be helpful to all of us.
I don't have a rendering at the moment, but I can,
Okay. Yes, no, we understand. There's
Could
no
you
rendering
please-
at the moment. Go ahead. Haskell. and
Sorry,
then
could you
Lindsay.
please clarify the spacing of the ballards along the radius?
Okay, so on sheet 20 or VE-04, it has the spacing on them and the circles, the red circle.
What sheet again, please? How far apart?
VE04, 20 of 34?
Yes.
Yeah. Those plans are showing 53 bollards, that page.
Correct.
That's crazy. Staff.
Okay, wait.
How far apart are those?
8 feet apart.
Lindsay is next, please.
So this discussion here came up, and I've got other comments, but this particular piece of the discussion came up. Jose, you called up, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, sir.
Hassan.
Kassan, saying that I'm understanding that federal regulations require X, Y, Z. So I would like to get some clarity because at least the way that I understand it, so background for those on the board and anybody, so I sat on Parking and Transportation Committee for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many years, when Jose was transportation and then he was interim parking and anyways. So I was there for the iterations of Slow Street 1, 2, 3, however many we've been through. My understanding is another way that this could be done is to actually extend the curb. Am I wrong?
Through concrete? or
Correct.
paint? It could, yes.
Okay, and
That's a
so
permanent
my
application.
question there is, that's only the height of a sidewalk or a curb. Would that also have to have some sort of, or does the curb resolve that? My question is the delineator at that height required? Because my understanding is that a curb would be sufficient. So if a curb is sufficient, why does, I just want some explanation there, please.
Okay.
Good question, go ahead.
So, no, whenever you have a curb extension, the concrete is a permanent condition.
Mm-hmm.
It is built differently than whenever you have something, I would not say specifically temporary. It is an intermediate section in between like the bike lane right now and the future projects that might come in on Flamingo Park or Jefferson Avenue. There might be some future projects that are going to be redoing undergrounding that will require the curbs and sidewalks to be rebuilt. And that's whenever those will be switched with a full curb extension.
Right,
like what
I
we have.
understand why we're not doing the curb extension now. What I'm asking is if the curb extension at
You
curb
don't-
height is enough per Department of Transportation, can you please explain to it? It
don't-
seems unclear as to whether or not the height is or is not required, and that's what I'm trying to like drill down on.
You don't need to have that height at the moment. We chose these ones because they're more visible. The Ziklas that we mentioned before, or the armadillos, are something new technology that was coming out. And we chose it because it's a historic neighborhood. Historically, we have used these over the years. And not in Miami Beach, but in different areas. And this is why we chose K71s. And I can also ask our designers, street plans, and Alta Planning. They can also talk more about these, why we chose these ones. But in regards to the curb extensions, you don't need additional height more than 6 inches. That is. That
So
is
with a
true.
curb extension, you do not need more height other than 6 inches. Without a curb extension, do you or do you not need more height? That's my question.
With the painted extensions, you need something physical to block it. It has to be more than 6 inches for sure. But whenever you do have a curb that is a concrete, which a physical thing that it's a little bit different, you don't need additional physical things to add, physical height to add it onto that, if that makes sense.
Okay. It sounds like we don't need the bollards.
We don't, I mean, that's really why I'm asking. And Jose, I mean, I think you guys know, I'm generally in support of the project. I'm trying to understand what we have to do versus what we want to do and the reasons why, so that the board here can make a decision based on all that information. And when it was like, hold on, I'm being told Department of Transportation says we have to do this, I said, well, wait a second, I know a curb is enough.
Right.
So I'm just trying to get some clarity there.
I'm Tony Garcia. I'm one of the designers of the project. You don't need to have it be vertical. It's better for visibility. That's all it is. It could be very well Zikla. Where we do need the verticality is at the driveways, at the entrances to the bike lane. to address what was said on the call.
Right, so that someone
People
can't
just
drive straight through
driving
it.
in. Yeah, we
That I
need the
understand.
verticality. At the curb extensions, we do not need the verticality, but I thought that was gonna be prettier than the Zikla for the historic district. The Zikla looks more trafficy, I think. We can disagree on that, but.
Those are the armadillos?
The armadillos or the
Yeah,
Zeklas,
yeah.
yes. Thank you. Thanks,
Right.
Jose.
Yeah, no, thank
Glad we
you.
got clarity.
Okay, yes, Ray, please.
This is a slow-traffic neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's not like the corner of Fifth and Washington. And it just seems to me, what I'm looking at here is very much overkill for a residential neighborhood. And maybe seeing a rendering would make me feel differently about it. But right now, it just seems to me like it's too much. It's really too much. And the people that are driving in that neighborhood are the ones that drive every day. There's probably very few people that would be cutting through that neighborhood to get someplace else. And I think that you need to really think about how you've designed that.
Lindsay?
Yeah, so,
Did you want to just-
and I know we don't love crosstalk here, but I want to
No, it's
counter
okay.
that.
This is our.
I want to counter that because living in that neighborhood, especially when we have busy weekends, for sure people cut through their neighborhood, especially now that we no longer have the green zone. That's their quickest way to get through. And, you know, Uber drivers especially, someone mentioned on one of the calls, the fake stop signs. They're not fake stop signs, they are pedestrian crosswalks that have lights flashing. It says stop for pedestrian when they're ready, right? I personally get frustrated when people stop at every single one of those because they're not a stop sign unless someone's there. But my point is that there are tons of people within the neighborhood driving through it that aren't there full time. And I mean, I certainly think that traffic calming is a plus in this neighborhood. And so, like I said earlier, generally I'm in support of this. I'm trying to drill down on some of the details to understand what is best practice, what is a must-have, and what is a nice-to-have, and how we balance that with our purview, which is whether or not it is in keeping with the historic character of the neighborhood. And so that I'm trying to understand those things so that we can balance that. But I just want to say that, I mean, when I'm walking around there, it's you're taking your life in your own hands oftentimes.
All right.
Okay.
I just thought that was a lot of bollards.
Yeah, Haskell, did you, no, you're.
No.
No, okay. Mitch, did you have anything you wanted to add? I know you've.
Yeah, a few things. Jose, you mentioned that the issue on 10th, between 10th and 11th by the fire station was resolved. Ask the residents in that neighborhood who can no longer park in those spots as they have for generations. Again, the quantity specified on the plans is 521 of these bollards. On average, that's about 50 per intersection, 25 or 12, between 12 and 14 at each corner. It's excessive and it's inappropriate. I'm surprised staff is going along with this. That to me just states that that's more of a directive.
I think we really see that, like, I think the ideal solution here is, of course, to have the permanent extension of the sidewalks and curbs. That I think is the ideal situation, to avoid the bollards at the corner, like Lindsay was saying. So we view this as like an interim solution for pedestrian safety, and bicycle safety. I know for myself, I will not ride on a street that doesn't have a bicycle lane or is a protected area that's because the drivers here are so bad. I don't feel safe driving unless it's like on a protected area. So we're trying to balance, public safety and to encourage more people to bicycle, and also relying on the expertise of our transportation department. So that's why we're recommending in favor of this. I do agree that maybe the solution for the armadillos would work, as well. So
I'd be amenable to that. But if the Transportation and Mobility Department wants to bring a rendering, we can certainly.
I also think that we do have images of other intersections from another country, so we don't think really. And if the board wants to see an image, we felt that you can see the plans with the numbers. We can look at images from other cities to get an idea. So I think I don't know if having an image is going to change your mind, for the intersection. So I think probably rather have a solution for the bollards versus having to come back in another month with another image. I'll leave it up to. the
You know,
board and
Michael,
transportation department.
this entire package, or at least item, for this item, was very sloppy. Nothing was stapled, pages loose. I have a question regarding the labels. Do you have an affidavit certifying that the labels were mailed to everybody within the area?
But the labels, I'm
The-
sorry?
the-
No, we don't,
That's not required to be in our packet.
Yeah.
It is required, is a requirement. We've
Have
actually.
you looked at the labels? There's no addresses on there. And what do you mean it's not required?
No.
Our first item, there's an affidavit, RDR Miami.
Yeah, by
but so
Diana
This
Del
is
Rio.
to certify
We're not,
that
we're
the
not, we're not,
attached labels.
we are not
and-
sending the board members the mailing labels or the affidavit. That's part of the application package. We're not going to go ahead and ask applicants to produce the mailing labels and that for the board members, but it's part of. it's
The
part of
point
record.
is, the city should be held up to at least the same standard
Oh, yeah,
as
yes.
anyone who appears before.
Yes, the label,
Or even a higher standard.
mail notices were prepared, they were sent out.
Okay, Haskell, you want to jump in?
Quick question,
Go
please.
ahead.
I see a lot of correspondence taking place since October where it was asked for a 3D rendering by, I think, my colleague for 2 months. Why has the board not received a 3D rendering of this intersection in 2 months?
So we are in the final design process. As part of final design, the product are the sign and seal set of drawings that are, these are engineering drawings. There were some photos, I'm sure, and images showed initially, probably several years ago, a couple years ago, at Flamingo Park Neighborhood Associations, but we don't have those now. But Mr. Chair, if I may make a suggestion, actually in lieu of a rendering, it may actually be better to do an in-field demonstration at one of these two of these intersections, where we do one quadrant with the K71 bollard, and we do another one with an armadillo as an alternative device, and then, somehow do some outreach and then select the preferred device.
Okay. I think that's a,
Apologize.
go ahead, Haskell. Yes, please.
I didn't understand your explanation in terms of the signed and sealed plans. Should not have the rendering been presented prior to signing and sealing these documents?
Not necessarily. It's not a requirement.
No, I know it's not a requirement, but it's being asked for over 2 months.
Correct. But it's not something that we have readily available at this moment. So what I'm suggesting in lieu of a rendering is an in-the-field test or demonstration. There's nothing like seeing it, touching it, experiencing it, better than on a piece of paper.
I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm not really completely satisfied. When a concerned citizen, a member of the board, is asking for a piece of information for over 2 months, I think that's a readily available, with, today's software, you can develop something rather quickly within 2 months that you could present it for a visual. But be that as it may at this point.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to just weigh in a little bit here. I was, what I heard from the from the public forum was really a lot of encouragement for this to happen, and that it really has to happen. The sooner something safe happens, the better, which is why I appreciate the proffer of, setting two up, but I know, like, buying the bollards, getting them installed, setting up a date after which they're installed for everybody to look, and blah, blah, blah. It's gonna push us back a long time. And I looked at the bollards in LA. I just did a quick Google search. Everybody complains about them. That's the only thing you read. Like, what are these things in our streets? So I would say, given the LA, just Google it. LA bollards, it's like, they're the first things like TikTok. What is this? With a picture, a close-up of it. So I would just say, I would recommend that we try this, if it is interim, that we try it with the armadillos, something we know. it may not be enough. When it's not enough, we change it to bollards when we need more protection. Just to keep this moving forward. And, you know, I understand Tony thinks they're too traffic-y or industrial, what'd you say? I don't know, I didn't write it down, I almost did, but, anyway, I just think we should, this is such a good and important effort, and I appreciate the staff, the city doing this. I am, you know, I'm not happy with, I have a whole other set of questions about porous pavement that was satisfied. I'm not sure why staff satisfied that. I'm not sure how the,
That should not be
the
applicable.
heat island effect is
Yeah, that-
satisfied.
I'm sorry, that's really not applicable, so.
Okay,
yeah.
but it was just, again, you know, things weren't really consistent in terms of that. So I would recommend we move to approve the plan without the bollards, but with the armadillos that we already know and have in the city. And when we're thinking about, you know, we're always talking about trees and landscape and how you want to see the city and you want to be able to understand the visual fabric of the street, especially in historic districts. And I think the bollards would just really interrupt, these bollards that you're proposing would interrupt that. And if we do need them, we will revisit this, obviously, but I would ask my colleagues for that. And
I'm open to that idea, but I think the applicant had one comment direct, there was some discussion, so if we can get that and then.
yeah, go ahead, go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, just because there's been some ambiguity regarding the verticality elements when they're required versus when they're desired. So the not necessarily a K71 bollard, but a vertical device is required by federal regulations at each end of the bike lane, at each end of the street.
We need the verticality at the driveways and at the beginning and at the end.
That makes sense, so that no one can enter the
Well,
bike
yeah.
lane with a
When you-
vehicle.
That's right, that's
When you
right.
say verticality, armadillo's vertical.
Armadillos are not gonna cut it.
Not
It's
enough.
not,
They're
it's
gonna
not
get
considered
driven
vertical
right
enough.
over. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, people drive over these things
Yeah.
too.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, if I may, so at the end, at each end of a bike lane, center, you know, between north-south flow, if we're talking about Jefferson, right? There will be a vertical element, like a K71, is that right, K71?
Yeah.
Bollard. But outside of that, we could use the Ziklas, the armadillos, for the curb bump outs.
line.
I'm getting head shakes from the community in the background, but I want to make sure from the applicant.
That's right, and at the driveways. So everywhere there's a cut in the bike lane.
Right.
You want one.
That's
on
fair.
that-
That's what I mean, at each
Yeah,
end
yeah.
of it,
But
anytime.
wrapping around the edge of the curb extension, you can do,
So what?
I want to make sure that it's clear, because you're
Can you-
saying driveways, and there are multiple
That's right.
driveways
That's right.
along the bike lane.
That's right.
She's
So,
saying
right, so
each end.
anywhere that traffic would
Can
cross
you
the
put the plan,
Century.
can you put the plan back up, please? Just put the plan back up, because when we're not talking about speaking to something like this.
So we're
then-
talking at the crosswalk, and then where it says, let's say those
here.
arrows, 6 SWL, 6 yellow, 3 foot, 9 foot skip,
That's
let's say
right.
that was a driveway, there would be one on either side of that driveway, correct?
that's right. There's not any driveways on.
I know there's not, I'm
Yeah,
just.
Yeah, but
I
it
know,
would
you
be
can pull
like
out a little bit and you can find the driveways. there.
right here and right here. Yeah, on this sheet, actually, it's a whole, like.
Yeah, there's no driveway on
curb.
this
There is
one.
no driveway.
But imagine there's a bike lane on this side, there would be one right here, and there would be
and
one
one
right
here.
here.
So
So
what,
it cuts down on the
what's the
verticality, the
small-
clutter a lot.
what's the smallest what's the smallest vertical? You haven't told me what this federal statute is on that verticality. How high does it have to be?
Well, it's about visibility. I mean,
Okay,
36
what's
is
the,
good.
what's the statute say? Just
The
read it.
statute doesn't talk about the height necessarily.
It
just
doesn't.
needs to be height. There just needs to be some.
Something high, higher than an armadillo? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Could I, if I may,
Please.
Aliyah Awad, engineer of record consultant for this project. So there is no specificity, they're not being very specific about the height. The benchmark using half a foot, similar to a curb, that's a good benchmark. So there's no specifics to the height. However, I do want to point out, specific to the armadillos, we actually worked with Zikla, the maker of these armadillos, who are based in Spain, to install them out in Boca Raton at an intersection. And they were very transparent with the fact that they are not meant to last very long. And of course, we already said that this is supposed to be an interim project. However, I just want to clarify that from a safety perspective, like Tony said, they're not going to cut it. Armadillos may not be the ideal treatment, but of course, that's also not saying that K71 is the only. So I just wanted to clarify that from a safety and technical perspective, if we are going to put those extended curb extensions out there where pedestrians may be just standing in the paint and K71s are being rejected, then my recommendation is to see what other treatments out there that are more resilient and also, maybe more reflective, a little bit higher, just for the perspective of safety.
But it doesn't, this is a temporary solution. We're considering this a temporary solution anyway. So why would we look for something that's more resilient?
Because armadillos, for example,
Yeah.
are meant to last, let's say, a year or two. but
Even in this context?
Correct. But
Okay.
other interim treatments are are manufactured to last at least 5 years, for example. So I would just take that into consideration.
So even a curb, to get back to Lindsay's question, even a curb, a concrete curb would not work in this case, right? Would not be enough of a concrete 6-inch curb would not be enough of a vertical.
It would if it's basically made of the right grade of concrete and bolted and
Right.
installed in the right way, then absolutely it would last longer.
It would last longer, but it wouldn't provide the verticality that you're arguing for.
I think we're talking about two different things to a degree, right? So one is the delineation of the curb cut out into what is currently street, right? And that's where you have, if you look at the plans, 5, 10 of right now proposed bollards at each one of those, right? And then we also have the bollard proposed at any end of a bike lane where traffic crosses it essentially, whether it's a street, whether it's a crosswalk, whether that is a driveway, et cetera. And so I think your question, John, maybe was, do we have to have the height of the bollard at the, correct me if I'm wrong, John, the
Yes, I will.
entry and exit of the bike lane? That's what I'm gonna call them, entry and exit of the bike lane. Is that what you're asking? I'm just trying to understand.
I was asking, yes, because we seem to be, I'm wondering what the solutions are instead of this. I think these bollards are too big and intrusive for our community. I think we have other solutions that are vertical, that are thinner, that we might be able to start with. If it's not, if you really say that armadillos aren't safe enough, I certainly don't want to compromise safety, but I think we need to kind of have we have to have something that's contextual within our community, that people that are the community members like us are used to seeing, and that we are testing out for, and we have a quick implementation. So we're not waiting for a long time, we're not testing something that's new. So if it's just those very thin vertical bollards that we see everywhere.
delineators.
The delineators between, would those work in those situations when you're right at the intersection where you need verticality?
They would,
Would
but
satisfy.
the aesthetics and the spacing would be worse.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify, but they would work. They are often placed at all kinds of curb extensions.
To my board members, I'm sorry, Haskell. So here's my thought process. What I would be amenable to approving today, which is a shift from what they've proposed, is the K71 bollards at the entrance and exit to the bike lane, right? To have a large physical presence to keep a car, because you think about it, it's a double wide bike lane, right? That's a parking, I don't know the exact dimension, but it's enough room for a car to drive through.
Yes.
So something that is substantial enough so that, I'm not saying it's going to stop a car, but to draw attention to the fact that this is not a place for cars to drive, okay? And then, as far as the curb cuts, I'm with our chair, John Stewart here, something lower, along the lines of a ZECLA. I'm okay with the ZECLA. I understand that they are short-term. The idea here would be short-term. I know there's a cost associated with them. That's kind of my thought process. And the armadillos, the ZECLAs, that is alternative proposal, if you will, that I think I might be willing to support. I'm curious if there's anybody else in this board that would be willing to support that. And I think it sounds like transportation is amenable to that. And that it would satisfy requirements. That's the big concern.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to suggest that we continue it to next month. Let them bring in a rendering, let them bring in a bollard so we can actually look at a bollard.
There's a bollard right there.
There's a bollard right there.
It's sitting right here this whole time.
I haven't seen one, no one.
Oh, no, you can
It's
put
out
it
of
right up
my
on
view.
top of the thing.
Now,
There it
you
is.
also, what different height, I mean, you talked about different heights.
Put it right up on your, thing so
So
you can see.
this
it
is,
from-
this is the K71 bollard that they, as proposed, want to put around the curb cuts and at the entrances to everything, every bike lane. What I'm saying, and I think what collectively we're saying, is that around the curb cuts is a lot of verticality and visual clutter. How's that? And so, thank you. And so having those just at the bike lanes, front and back, or, each end, which again, at a cross street, at a driveway, et cetera. Anytime where a car could in theory turn into it, that's where you want it to be, where there's a break in the protected curb lanes that are outside. And then at the curb cuts, I'm sorry, Haskell. And then at the curb cuts, having something lower profile, a la the Ziklas, the armadillos, is what we're suggesting. So that's where I was.
What goes on top of that?
Like,
There's a hole.
Nothing.
There's a cap, there's a like plastic cap.
Is there a top? I mean, otherwise it just fills up with water.
They have ones that have a little ball on it, but it could just.
Okay.
And they could be shorter.
And they could be shorter, they could be shorter. The thing is that it's gotta be a deterrent enough so that people don't drive in the bike lane, right? That's the thing, so.
But didn't you show, didn't you show a picture of them being run over by a truck? Like, and you said they pop back up or they pop off? I'm afraid that they're gonna be a huge obstacle on the road, but, yeah.
But it's plastic, it's got a metal hole in the middle,
Yeah,
and it'll do this.
Please speak on the mic.
yeah, sorry, that's a.
It is flexible, and it'll take a hit, but it will not survive multiple beatings over and over.
Right, okay.
And
neither
it
would
comes
an
in different
armadillo.
sizes, so 12, 24, this is 36, it'll.
Okay. Haskell?
I just want to talk about what Lindsay had said. I like your idea, number
Thank
one.
you.
And I agree with also Ray that we continue this and you come back with a rendering as was requested 2 months ago. And I'm looking up the armadillos are 8.5 inches tall, substantially taller than a regular curb. So what's the issue? Is it longevity?
Yes, exactly.
So-
It's the way they're bolted and how many times they get hit.
Fair enough. So if this is a pilot program, why don't we just test out the armadillos and see if it works and actually see what their longevity is in practice?
Absolutely. It's a possibility. I just wanted to caveat from a technical perspective that they are not meant to last too long.
But
So
neither is this.
absolutely,
But that's not a
yes.
very specific
Yeah.
response, not meant to last too long. What does that mean? Under what conditions? We have harsh environment here, I understand, but somebody's got to warranty this to last X number of months or years or
Yes,
whatever.
there is a warranty on them, absolutely.
And how long is that?
I don't have the exact number, but I can tell you
I think
generally
we
a
should
couple
have
of
that
years.
information,
Sure.
please.
The product itself is gonna last, it's not gonna fall apart, it'll be removed from its spot. So if it gets hit every day, multiple times a day by a UPS truck or the fire truck, then it'll get dislodged.
Why would it move?
Because.
Because of what, the shear
just the
on the
impact-
bolt?
Yeah, that's it.
The depth of penetration?
No, the sheer,
Okay,
the
so that's a
impact
function
on-
of the depth of penetration of the fastener.
The fasteners, there's gonna be 3 fasteners, they're chemically and mechanically applied.
Right.
So there's an epoxy that's put in, and also it's hammer drilled into the ground. They're very durable, they can take a hit. So, I think Aaliyah said, she's just being very
One second,
cautious.
let me
They're gonna take a lot of beatings, and at a certain point, they're gonna just.
Fair,
break
I
off.
hear you. I understand that. From a technical standpoint, what I'm saying to you is, if the unit itself can take a lateral impact,
Yeah.
it's a function of the fastener holding it in place that you're saying would yield,
Sure.
correct?
That's right.
So if you change the fastener,
Go first.
the attachment to the substrate, then the item is going to last indefinitely.
It'll last a long time, and it can be
Right.
it can be reinstalled, that's
So
the
let's
other thing.
just do that. Let's take a look at that alternative. And
Ray-
go from there.
Ray, just one second. Elizabeth has The floor next, and
If
then.
I may, I would like to kind of summarize the suggestions and hopefully come to a consensus here. So I think what I hear my colleagues here saying is that we would live comfortably with the proposal of having the bollards where they are mandatory for visibility, like the curb cuts and whatever else they need to be. And other areas, like where the extended sidewalks and et cetera, to have a lower device that could be an armadillo or an alternative one. And since we are proposing to continue to next month, then at that point, you could bring alternative ones to be considered, and the board can decide if it's which one we prefer. Does that-
So, Jose, do you guys want to, would you guys want to have an approval today, or do you want to come back next month with other options?
An approval would be great, because right now, people are able to drive.
They're
in
using the bike
lane.
lane right now.
The only thing that's stopping you from opening the bike lanes today is because you don't have the high bollards where they are mandatory.
That's
So we are approving the high bollards where they are mandatory. We are just going to discuss further where they are
Yes,
not.
I think the board could approve what was mentioned earlier, and then continue the application to explore alternatives, if, subject to later installation, or, so basically, the board could be approving now the taller bollards at the entrances and exits to the bike lanes, approving armadillos at the curb extensions.
Right.
Right today, and then have the Transportation Department come back next month to explore other changes in the future. So right now, the board is approving that, but if the board wants to review other changes in the future, Transportation can come back next month.
But they're not really going to be, they're going to implement what we approved today, which I encourage us to do,
Yeah.
by the way. But you're saying, I don't know why they'd come back until there's
Well-
actually either a new project or a new location, or we've had time
Ray,
to
is there-
test it, or things like this.
Ray, is there a world in which we could approve this today?
Yeah, I just.
I know you,
clarify
you
one
had
thing.
originally suggested
Yeah,
continuance, but
no,
now I'm curious.
Just to clarify the armadillos, everybody's talking about lifespan. Depends on where it's located. Look at right now on Meridian. You have and then look at the armadillos that are on the Venetian Causeway. I mean, they're going to have a different lifespan just based on the fact of people running over them all the time. So I can understand why you can't come up with a figure of how long it's going to last, because it's
Can
kind
I
of
ask
depends.
one more thing
Go
about the
ahead.
paint? If we can also include the paint in the approval?
Yeah.
Paint on
The
the
ro-
curb
the
extension.
dust, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Please, thank you.
That was part of the order, isn't it? The
John?
paint? Yes.
I'd like
Go
to
ahead.
put forth a motion, and we'll see where
Okay.
we stand.
Okay.
Okay, so my motion would be approval as drafted by staff, however, with the modifications that we're only using the bollards at the entry and exit of the bike lane, whether that is a cross street, curb cut, driveway, et cetera, and that all of the bulb outs would be a lower modality, a la the Zikla's armadillos. Zikla's armadillos are approved, and I guess if there's something else, I'm okay with you working with staff so long as it is 10 inches or shorter.
The idea.
Reasonable?
And the idea would be to minimize the use of these bollards. I think these are really horrible bollards. And that we should, even if we could use thinner bollards, but I understand the spacing is different. So we'll try these.
Okay.
And we'll see if we get what we get on.
So to reiterate, or for clarification, we'll have 2 bollards per corner,
Yes.
A total
bike
of
lanes,
8.
Ends of the bike lanes,
so a total of 8 per intersection.
plus any
Uh,
driveways.
Yeah, but that's along the corridor of the street.
Yes.
Okay, staff, I don't know if it's planning, I would like a certificate regarding, or an affidavit regarding the mailing labels. Can you forward that to the board? Would that be you, Jose?
I got the mailing.
But we'll give you so when the city does the labels themselves, we don't have an affidavit. We generate the labels based upon our GIS system.
I got the mailing.
You got one?
I got one.
Okay. Neither
Can attest.
myself, my neighbors.
Well, are you within the
And
250?
I didn't find my name.
I'll
on the
check
list.
the labels, Mitch, I'll check.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a second on Lindsay's recommendation?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Ray. So what is, do we need a 5 or 4? 4, okay. Do you want to,
Do you do a roll call?
call a roll? Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, got what I wanted. I'm not gonna ask for anything more.
Don't forget your.
Our next application is HPB 25-0673. This is 407 Lincoln Road. This is an application requesting a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of decorative lighting fixtures on the existing building. Staff is recommending approval. We are recommending that the intensity of the lighting be able to be controlled and that the hours of operation of the lighting also be set, with the intensity reduced after 10 PM and the lighting turned off after midnight. That turned over to the applicant for the presentation.
Hi, good morning. My name is Javier Barrera. I'm the principal of the former studio, 5555 Biscayne Boulevard. And I'm here with Angel Torres, who's the local director for Euro-American Group. They are the building's owner. So in the past, I would say about 6 months, 7 months, this building's been undergoing through some internal and exterior renovations. And those include lobby renovations, actually complete lobby renovations, new entry canopies on the front and the back, so Lincoln Road and Lincoln Lane, new lobby storefronts, general cleaning and polishing of the exterior cladding of the building, and also the replacement of the rooftop clock. So we're here today because we want to enhance the building, the appearance of the building at night, really. If I can switch to the PowerPoint, yeah. So we'll start with some images. These are some pictures of the building at daytime. We have some from Lincoln Lane on the top left, bottom left Lincoln Road, Washington Avenue North, and Washington Avenue South. And here are some images at night. Again, different angles, different streets. But I think it's really clear from these images that the building is really lost at night. And again, that's what we're trying to work on with this presentation. Here are some elevations of the building. We have the east and north elevation, so Washington Avenue and Lincoln Lane. And here we have the south elevation for the building. We can see here that there's a strong vertical element that's comprised of, I would say, metal frames with the glazing in the middle. And those are divided by the black lines, which is the building cladding, the stone cladding there. So our proposed plan is to highlight these vertical grooves that go all the way up the building by adding small LED linear lights. These would be black, and these would be attached to the metal frame. They're very small. They're about 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, and they just would light up the building at night. Here is an image of what the building would look like. You know, we feel that it highlights the architecture of the building, but it also, you know, I guess, becomes a beacon of the entrance into Lincoln Road from, I guess, the pedestrian portion of Lincoln Road. And then we have another image here. And this is more of a frontal image from Washington Avenue, looking at the building. We can see the bank at the bottom and the way the building would be lit up above that. That's pretty much the presentation. We'll take any questions if you have any.
Yes, thank you. Mitch?
Yeah. Did you say if you're repairing the clock?
Yeah.
Temperature?
The clock has been repaired, actually.
That's good. Good to hear.
It
Not
doesn't
yet.
tell time
Not
yet,
yet.
All right.
but it's being programmed, yeah.
All right, great, that's
Yeah.
good to
But,
hear.
but all the panels have been replaced,
Yeah.
everything is brand new.
All right, the concern I have, do you know the Kelvin temperature of the light?
These lights are gonna be somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000.
You want it between 2,700 and 3,000. I would approve that. I think when you get into the 4,000 range,
Okay.
it's
I'm good with the 3,000, yeah.
3,000 or less, and will they be dimmable if, in case it's too bright?
They will be dimmable. These are
Okay.
dimmable fixtures, yes.
Okay.
We do have that as a condition as well. They have to be dimmable.
Okay, you understand about the 2,700? That's critical. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because you want to make it
3,000.
warmer.
You want it warm.
Warmer, yeah.
Yeah.
So when will the clock be up and running?
I'm gonna defer that question to Angel Torres.
My name's Angel Torres. I'm with Your American Group, the owners of the building. The clock is up, and it's really, everything's brand new. We're waiting for the programmers to come. I believe they're scheduled for the week of January 5th. So everything should be operational if they hold to that date.
Question.
Go ahead.
I love the elevators in that building. Have you changed or modernized the cab with the COP in the elevator, the stainless steel with the old early 70s?
Well, the
Button-
elevators haven't been touched.
I would ask you to.
The only thing that's gonna be done in the
retain them and
elevators-
keep them in good repair.
The only thing that's been done to the elevators, and it was approved by the HPB
It's the flooring.
when we did, was the flooring,
Yeah.
and there's some panels back there with little chiclets. That's gonna be
I'm
matched.
talking about the numbers that you press.
No, that's gonna be, stay the same.
Yeah, that's a
That's-
throwback to my youth.
No,
and,
that hasn't been changed at
Great.
all.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Yes.
Just out of curiosity, since we asked about the temperature, are they solely white or can they be, technology used to be colors? I'm just curious, the ones that you're installing.
We had them just white.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's very easy to change, if that's what you're looking for.
And just wanted to know.
Yeah, they're white.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Board disclosures, any disclosures? No? Then we open to public hearing. Roger. Again.
Roger Goldblatt. Roger Goldblatt, MDPL. We support this project, subject to the staff recommendations. The decorative lighting really beautifully highlights the building's distinctive architecture, verticality, and we commend the owners for somewhat restoring the clock. I actually see it every night.
It's brand new.
Oh, really?
Brand new.
But it's great the way I can see the minutes and seconds now, and I kind of guess the hour, so it's close. But anyway, thank you. I think it's going to look really nice in the entrance. And it's nice when you have people that try to keep things proper. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Anybody online? No?
There's nobody else online?
Okay, perfect. Then, anybody, board member review? Okay. Do you have what? Have a comment, please. Go for it, Elizabeth. Yes.
So
absolutely.
I am very happy that the clock will be back and running. And thank you so much for bringing new life to the building with the lighting. My only comment would be, I think it's a little timid gesture. I like especially on the corner of the building, it's in the dark. I don't know if there are any opportunities to have a vertical element to highlight, because the corner is an indented corner. So the corner of the corner, that would be a great opportunity to put some lighting, especially because you mentioned that it's marking the entrance to Lincoln Road, and then the corner, that's actually the corner of Lincoln Road and Lincoln Road and Washington is in the dark. So I think if you could put some more lighting there, or maybe also on the top of the building so it doesn't get lost in
Yeah,
the night
maybe-
sky, I think that would be a great addition to it.
Okay, maybe we can add one right in the inner corner there, of the image.
If you could bring back the photograph of the
Can maybe
rendering.
put the
Can we pull up the
rendering up on
presentation
the,
again?
on the
Yeah.
presentation?
Yeah, it's here.
The LI8.
PJ, can we pull up the presentation again?
Yeah,
There you go.
there you go. So maybe in that inner corner there, yeah, maybe we can put another strip. No, I know. We would be open to that, yeah,
Maybe study it.
yeah.
Okay. So do
I'll make a motion.
have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, incorporating the comments, study the corner, lighting, 3,000 Kelvin temperature or less. Was there anything else? Yeah, with the
Staff.
conditions enumerated in the staff report.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion second. Do, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our last application on the agenda is HB 25-0675 for 1651 Washington Avenue. This is an application requesting a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of 2 electronic murals on the rooftop of the existing building. Both of these are electronic murals on the top of the structure. The code does require that these murals cannot be visible from the street, so they have constructed or proposing these landscape planters around the perimeter of the rooftop. They also have a requirement that they be dimmed no more than 250 nits or turned off between 12 a.m. and 7 a.m. And also, if they exceed 100 square feet, they also require review by the city commission. We are recommending approval, subject to the conditions enumerated in the draft final order, and without turn over to the applicant for their presentation.
Thank you and good morning. Thank you so much, Michael Belush. My name is Paul Savage. We have law offices at 200 South Biscayne, Miami, Florida. I'm here on agenda number 6, the last item on your agenda today on behalf of the applicant. And given the time, I'm going to move very quickly so that we make it on time. I'm here together with Rob Alvarez of our office, our architect of record, Jose Gomez, and Elvis Penton are here available online. I'm proud to represent my client, the owner of Gemage at 1651 Washington, owner of the Gem, and this concerns the rooftop. We have a new rooftop restaurant that will be there, and this application concerns only electronic murals that will be projected. And my client is Carlos Enguanados, and he is the owner again of Gemage and also 2050, which is the name of the new proposed restaurant. So again, given the time, we're going to go nice and sprightly through here. These are our consultants and architects of record that I mentioned, as well as our landscape architect who worked on this shielding. This is the site here, 1651 Washington. I was excited to watch the immediately previous item because we will be looking across the street at one another, and it sounds like a perfectly tasteful lighting configuration that you just approved. So we're here at 1651. Again, we have the Gemage location in that building. This concerns the improvements on the rooftop. This is in the commercial high-intensity CD3 zoning district, and of course, we're in the historic Flamingo Park Historic District. We are, as Michael explained, we are respectfully requesting this board's approval of certain non-commercial electronic murals that have moving images. Of course, these can only be artistic in nature. They cannot be in any way an advertisement, anything like that. And of course, we are not doing that. This is going to be part of a very refined experience on the rooftop, very artistic, very appropriate for Art Basel. The subject matter of the projections will invoke the Everglades, organic, greenery, things like that, very slow moving, and we worked with staff. This drawing right here shows the two murals in question, one projecting, all this is interior, by the way, shielded from the right-of-way, which is mandatory under the code. This would only be visible on the rooftop itself. One goes towards the south on a wall, and the other one goes, toward the south on a tower wall. The other one goes in a northerly direction, also on an interior wall. We put together renders. This is the one looking toward the north. Again, there will be organic shapes invoking natural scenes, very tasteful, and also shielded from the right-of-way as required. This is the one looking toward the south, again, towards the tower that's there in our 1951 structure, commercial office building that we have. A little bit closer there with the tower. Again, worked very carefully with staff. You will note that the height of the projection is quite limited. It does not go up the length of that tower, which is part of the prohibition against being being able to be seen from the right-of-way. So it's very low, it's very constrained as we went back and forth with staff to make sure we were in conformity with the code. Important for this is the shielding, which we went with a vegetative shielding. This is the, I believe it's called a Porticopus macrophyllus, or a Japanese yew or Japanese plum. And we are planting white planters. And then these species are required to be at least 6 feet in height per the requirements and the approval, so that they will serve as a vegetative buffer and shielding to make sure that none of the visuals can be viewed from the right-of-way. This is a cross-section of the planting system together with the vegetation. And of course, we allow for irrigation and what's needed up there to take care of these plants. We have additional renderings. This is from the building on the Lincoln Road. From that visual, you will be able to see it from that location. This is from 407, the applicant in the last item. So you can see the shielding there. We don't have any projections to the eastbound in any way, so you really can't see anything there. And this is showing from the Lincoln Road street level pedestrian experience. You will not be able to see it due to the angles and the low requirement for the projection combined with the vegetative screening means that you cannot see it from the street. Also again from Washington. Here from the corner, you can see that iconic tower there, and you cannot see any of the projections. We are happy to come before you with a favorable staff recommendation. Again, many meetings with Michael and his staff, and they have enumerated certain conditions, one of which is that we have to go to the City Commission. And he also wrote in there a sentence requiring us to go back to staff as we change these so that staff is empowered to make sure that we don't put anything distasteful or they can double check. Couple more rooftop renderings. With that, I will promptly, given the time, conclude. And I thank this board. It's my pleasure to see you as always. And I appreciate your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there questions for the applicant?
Just a quick question. I mean, this is for a new restaurant on the rooftop. Where is the entrance going to be for that?
I've been to the building and you go, there's a stairwell and an elevator that is on the southern end of the building for the very.
So it's on Lincoln and not Washington?
I believe the front of the building's on Washington.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
It's on
where the
Washington.
entrance would be?
Yes, sir.
Somewhere's near Raising Cane?
Yeah, it's right by Raising Cane.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Questions, yes.
I have two questions regarding the irrigation system. So how are the planters drained, and if, I'm not sure exactly about how they're planning to irrigate. And the second question is, what's the technology for the electronic screens? It's like a projection, is it LED?
Yeah, it's a relatively simple technology of projection. It's not a lighted screen, if you will, like a television or LED or anything. It's a projection. So I can answer that question. I do have my landscape architect on the line if we're able to activate him.
What's his name?
His name is Keel Semler.
Yes, Keel has his hand raised. And also, we do have a condition in the order requiring irrigation.
Right, you know, and they mentioned there will be irrigation, but my concern is like when you put the water and if it drains to where?
sure.
Because there should be like an exit of that water if it's not
Sure.
some kind of controlled irrigation.
Keel, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, before you start speaking, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. So yeah, the irrigation is a permanent system. It's drip lines and micro emitters in the planters. We're connecting to the irrigation system that is currently on the roof. It's new and there's new existing built-in planters. And we're just sort of piggybacking off of that. And we have automatic controllers, and the drainage is coordinated with roof drainage. So from the planters to that existing roof drainage.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no more questions for the applicant, let's, board disclosures, any disclosures on this? No, no. No. Okay. Public hearing. Roger.
Wonder what happened to my pen. There it is. Roger Goldblatt, MDPL. We support this project provided it complies with the City of Miami Beach's local light pollution regulations and dark sky standards. We appreciate that the output will be reduced to 250 nits, is it, after midnight, and that the installation is not visible from the street. We encourage the Historic Preservation Board to ensure this project adheres to these important environmental standards. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
And there's nobody online with their hand raised?
Okay, so board member comment or motion? If no comments?
I'll second.
I'll make a motion.
Ray was about to.
I knew he was gonna.
Yeah, he said I'll second. Yeah.
To approve the certificate of appropriateness with the conditions from staff.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Any opposed? No? Seeing none? Congratulations. Thank you for the speedy delivery.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yes, you've got.
New business?
New business, we got 6 minutes.
I have something to.
Oh, you do actually do have something you want to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Had a big preservation victory that I realized during Art Basel. Has to do with a T. Hunter Henderson structure that you may have seen along Collins Avenue in Surfside, 9340 Bougainvillea Apartments. Way back in 2013, I served on the county's board, and the board at that time was about to approve its movement, its relocation. And I objected, concerned, of course, with the oops factor. The developer at the time agreed to retain it. And about 4 years ago, I was told that the new board approved its demolition and reconstruction. Since that time, the Kushner family or entity had purchased the property, and they have shored it up, and it's being showcased as the centerpiece of their development happening today. So I'm proud of that.
Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
No, thank you.
And thank you all.
We'll see you all on January 13th. Yes.